What measure? What do you mean getting exposed?
So, like, you know how we talked about him having no depth, right?
Right.
If he's gonna go for championships, he's gonna have to have depth. He can't be a flash in the pan hot potato because we've got Roman Reigns and that needs to be a strategic victory, and we've got CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which needs to be a strategic victory. So, what can he do now? What move? What move? What move does he have? What moves do they have to protect him from like not losing popularity?
You have to spin him off with the AJ Styles, right? Like you have to go heavy into that feud, and it's got to be the feud where AJ Styles says that he got the reward that AJ Styles worked for, right? That is the only way that like you can continue to build him up as a good guy and give him something to work off of. And it's an easy out for the whole thing with like why LA Knight doesn't win the title against Roman Reigns is because you have AJ Styles flood the match, like come in and cause a DQ or hit somebody with a chair, whatever you got to do. That makes it so that LA Knight loses, and then LA Knight can continue the feud with AJ Styles, and just you could bring that back around later once Cody Rhodes wins the title to where LA Knight says that his shot at the title was stolen by AJ Styles, and now he wants what he deserves. Like now that he's taken care of the AJ Styles issue, now he wants what he should have gotten, which is a clean match. And when is Hell in the Cell? Do they
I
still
think
do that
that's in
one?
like, yeah, yeah. This shouldn't be a fucking pay per view, but it is. Um, I feel like it's always around October ish. Let me see. Oh shit! No fucking shot. Great thing that you brought it up. Wow. Hell in a Cell got discontinued. They just discontinued it.
Okay.
The 2022 event will be the final Hell in a Cell produced as 2023 officially discontinued the event. Its slot was initially replaced by what was to be a revival of King of the Ring, rebranded as King and Queen of the Ring, but was changed to Night of Champions, in turn reviving Night of Champions. This came after reports that WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H wanted to discontinue some of the gimmick events like Hell in a Cell so that the match itself could return to being the culmination of big feuds instead of something that has to be done each year because of the event. Thank God. Oh, matter of fact, sorry, I know we're about to run out of time, but hey,
Was in the
here's a
merry
great thing
month
that
of
happened in
June from home. I
2023.
started to kiss the garrison chum and
They
left them
reversed the
broken. Had to
rule
salute me
about
father
escaping
dear.
the
Kiss
cage.
me, darling mother.
They're gonna
Drank a
get rid
pint
of
of beer. Me
you being
fears
able to
and doubts
escape the
his mother.
cage
Then
to
enough
win the
to reap
match,
the
because
corn.
the point of the
Lever
steel
I
cage
was
is to
born.
keep
Cut
people
the stuff
out.
like time to bind. His
Like,
toast and gobble
how
and
do you win a
friendly pair
feud
of
by
bros.
saying I got
Crack
out
the
of the
love of the
box
pouch.
before you? You know
Frightened
what I
all the
mean?
dogs on the rocky road. To double in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's on
Put
that
the
one.
hair and turn her down the rocky road and
Yeah,
all the way to double in 1.
it
Well,
looks
dowdy
like
da.
it looks
And
like
mumbling Jared that
2024
night
is
the
going to
rested
be an
limbs so weary
insane
started
year
that
for
they
a
like
lot of
snow to break
people and a
there
lot
it's
of
up to drop it.
things.
Yeah,
I
no,
can't wait to see what it has in store.
I do look forward to it. Unfortunately I do have to get going, but
Hmm.
yeah, no, I look for the I don't know if we're gonna do one next week, but the first, like as we see where the new year lends us into, it should be interesting. Like I look forward to continuing the Twilight Wrestling podcast. It, it I want to care about wrestling. I used to care a lot about wrestling, and this podcast and your stream in general, the wrestling portions makes me care more again, and so now I gotta know, right? Now I need this information. Now I gotta catch the highlights, that kind of stuff. So it's been good for me. I've been happy to have it, and I look forward to 2024.
Hey, gang. Same on my end. Ladies and gentlemen, I never thought I'd be saying this, but it is a good fucking time to be a wrestling fan. Speaking of which, we are off next week because we've given my extra employee. This is a joke. We are not employees. You should actually help pay us. We'll make a Patreon. We'll do something. Subscribe to our Twitch channels. The links are in the description down below. And what are you doing? What's happening here? Anyway, yo, it's been an honor starting this. It's been an honor doing this. I got a special surprise for y'all, but we are off next week. We will see you in 2 weeks. New year, day one event on Raw. Shit's gonna be popping. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Paradigm Shift. That's my co-host, Globus the Elder. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.
What up, folks? What up? So yeah, sorry that was a little confusing. You know, ran up against the clock, and I go live at 5 no matter what, right? Like that is my my social contract with you is to be here at 5 o'clock unless I'm like bleeding out the eyes. I'm gonna be here so that you know that I'll be here. But sometimes that means like the beginning might get a little weird. Initially, it's like really with this, just initially, this was supposed to be a celebration of the 600th follower, but either somebody doesn't love me anymore, or Twitch did the thing where they bump somebody off follow, and we dropped back down to 599. So I had to switch up that kind of stuff. But generally, it's still going to be the same. Got a bit of news to cover, and then just a whole bunch of video content. Some of it fun, some of it like there's a independent thought video. We got Stuart Russell breaking down artificial intelligence. Casually explained that we watched a couple of times. Has done a video on AI. We got new Nobody in the Computer with their wild ass shit. And Matt Wolf has a 2023 year in review. And then we're gonna do movie night. We got movie night, and that might be Ghost in the Shell, like some other Ghost in the Shell. I'll leave it up to y'all. I'm easy. Ferris, on the other hand, is not easy. Can you chill? Can you just chill? You were so chill. All right. So, let's be about it. And in the ongoing tech support aspect of the stream, shit, and then I close out the friggin' thing. Old Lobster, I might end up switching to a different browser because it really looks like any of the issues that have been coming up are actually related to Chrome as opposed to like my graphics card or anything. I don't know if that's 100%. Yeah, and I don't know. What up, Ironic? First time I saw that Ghost in the Shell, I was still living in New Zealand. You have had a fascinating life, I will tell you. It's one of the most beautiful, strange movies ever, and I don't think I ever want to see a live adaptation. For me, like, I live in a world of like, my stuff comes from the comic book world, so I am used to different people doing different takes on different characters and whatnot. So I have less of this issue. Like, I watched the what was it? Space Cowboy, the fucking one with the dude in the blue suit. Come on, help me out. It's got the corgi in it. Cowboy Bebop. Thank you, Adam. Cowboy Bebop. What up, Pruitt? I like the live action Cowboy Bebop. I understood why it was told linear order as opposed to the way that it was done in the initial anime, right? Like it made sense to me. Again, because of how I come at it. I'm not a purist. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Yeah, and I'm also on the side of like, why are we live actioning a lot of these things that don't have to be live actioned? So I understand that aspect of it, but by the same token, like I didn't like lose my goddamn mind because of it, and I was disappointed that they weren't doing a season 2. So I understand it's just me, but I'm fine with that. All right, let's get into it. Tesla has the highest accident rate of any auto brand. Now, again, my sample size is problematic. Anybody wants to dispute any of what I'm about to say, I'll say you're probably right, and I'm making assumptions. But when I'm driving, BMW drivers and Jeep drivers are some of the worst drivers on the road. Right? I would posit, right? And I could be wrong, but I would posit that the personality type of the person who drives a BMW or the person who drives a Jeep, like that is their chosen vehicle. The Venn diagram of that and being someone who like thinks the road belongs to them and that they can do whatever the hell they want, that there's a heavy overlap on that. And into that pool, I would throw Tesla drivers. Right? It's not that there's something particular about the vehicle that makes them the most accurate, but as the line here says, Tesla drivers are the most accident prone. Yeah, I think that there could be something with people who desire to drive a Tesla and like either not appreciating what the technology is actually capable of, you know. I just want to be clear, right? That's one of the things is like I always want to be clear. I always want to provide the structure of how I come to my conclusion, so on and so forth. It found that Tesla drivers are involved in more accidents than drivers of any other brand. but not by much. It should be pointed out also. Tesla drivers had 23.54 accidents per thousand, Ram 22.76, and Subaru 20.90 were the only other brands with more than 20 accidents per thousand drivers for every brand. Ram, generally going to be trucks. People who drive pickup trucks, again, are a particular demographic. People who drive what I refer to as toy trucks, right? Like, if you own a pickup, you should be doing work with that pickup. If you don't do work with that pickup, you don't need to have a pickup. You especially don't need to have a monster Ram truck, because those things are beefy. This was not a causal study. I like that. The study did not analyze the reason for an incident, but it comes amid news that Tesla recently recalled more than 2 million Tesla vehicles for a safety issue related to its autopilot software, specifically a feature called Auto Steer, which is part of the driver assistance system. And don't get me wrong, you can dunk on Tesla, you can dunk on Elon. I'm not going to stop you, but people are putting way too much into this safety recall over the 2 million. It was an over-the-air software update. So, like, it's not like, I don't know, that there's something that causes it to explode that was the reason for the recall. Yes, I know Tesla fires, all that. But the point is that this is like, that had it been another brand, it wouldn't have been a big deal. It would have just been a recall that they addressed right away. That's really what that comes down to. People want to get their dunks on Elon and people want to get their dunks on Tesla, and they overlook the realities in favor of the meaning. And it's, it's not something that I am capable of doing. Sorry. So yeah. And then they go on to talk about the recall as opposed to talking about the reason that you're here writing the article. Because again, it's not just y'all. It's not just streamers. It's not just video essayists. It's everyone. Like, can I get a dunk on Elon? Well, I'm going to do that because that's going to get eyes on my article. Waymo has 7.1 driverless miles. How does it do? How does its driving compare to humans? Let's find out, because I didn't read this. 7.13 million fully driverless miles in 3 cities: Phoenix, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and compared the data to human driving benchmarks to determine whether its cars were involved in fewer injury-causing and police-reported crashes. Now, we're already self-selecting a bit here, because if I get into an accident and I don't hit these, then, like I accidentally, like I didn't have my foot down enough on the brakes and I hit somebody's bumper and it just marked up the bumper. And, I paid that dude $300 out of pocket and we were good. Right? This was ages ago. Now I stand on that brake. And it was the first time the company studied miles from fully driverless operations only, rather than a mix of autonomous and human monitored driving. The conclusion: Waymo's driverless cars were 6.7 times less likely than human drivers to be involved in a crash resulting in an injury, or an 85% reduction over the human benchmark, and 2.3 times less likely to be in a police-reported crash, or a 57% reduction. Translates to an estimated 17 fewer injuries and 20 fewer police reported crashes compared to the human driver would have driven the same distance in the cities where Waymo operates. I'm aware, you might be aware, you might not. Cody, on some more news, did an AI segment as part of his end of year wrap up. It's hot garbage, and it's obviously cherry picking in order to continue to prove his points. So I'm not even going to respond to it beyond that. Yeah, we don't have to cover that. That's like, this is kind of nichey, clicky, weird, fucking internet tech people shit. Yeah, no. Sorry, but Cody needs to, like, if Cody just said, I don't like AI, I think that AI is fucked up. I think the way it's being implemented is fucked up, and just called it a day, then it'd be fine, right? But he presents things in a way, and I've done 2 episodes about people who don't like AI and have strong things to say about it, which are completely out of pocket, right? Like, and I break them down. If you go check the highlights, in the highlights, there's the episode where what's his name? Adam Conover does his AI episode, and it's hot garbage because he was involved in issues related to AI and the writers and actors strike. And then Cody was also on that team, and his AI episode. Oh, yeah. And then another one where he talks about the self-driving cars. And it's just, you could do this if you actually wanted to. And you could really talk about the issues with self-driving cars compared to like the claims made, and that's all valid. And I'm, what can I say? You're talking valid stuff, like the Elon video meme, right? Where it's like Elon, when self-driving cars, oh, next year, 18 months tops for the past decade, right? Like there are places that you can do this properly, but when you mischaracterize or you use the same incident multiple times in order to prove a point, you're being intellectually dishonest, and I'm not going to have it. From Fox Business, 2/3 of Americans say, like, and this is interesting, right? Like, and this is actually a little old news, is about a month old, but I completely missed it until it came up elsewhere. But if you've been here for me covering, Americans say, or the polls of Americans around AI and what they have indicated, this seems like a weird thing to say, but 2/3 of Americans say AI could do their job. Vast majority of U.S. workers admit artificial intelligence tools could replace them, according to a recent survey. Recent survey conducted by Spokeo found that despite seeing the potential benefits of AI, 66.6% of the 1,027 respondents admitted AI could carry out their workplace duties, and 74.8% said they were concerned about the technology's impact on their industry as a whole. After a year of headlines about AI taking over the world, it's no surprise that 2 in 3 now think AI could do their job. We never would have dreamed of how impactful ChatGPT would be on the world. and then the rest is background. So yeah, interesting. So on another person's stream, they played a video where cops at a mall were using drones to track suspected shoplifters, right? And I'm with you. Like, but one of the point is that in the comment or in the chat, people were talking about jamming these jamming these drones. And there's a variety of different technologies for jamming drones. And however, inside the Magic Radio protecting Russian drones from jamming. This is, I assume, part of the Ukraine conflict. Okay, but I'm also just curious about yours and others' AI perspective in specific areas. I thought there were problems with it had more to do with replacing writers and actors and artistic work like that. That is a portion, and that concern is valid, and I do that. I make that point. Like always, always, always. I think that we need to stop waving it around in fuck and get to the point where we're like, we need a different way to distribute resources. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that. And I think that, people joining unions and union support and that is all, still important as we go forward. I just see a bunch of potential pitfalls with that, basing your future models off what is working currently. Like a lot of those jobs are going to go away in spite of what the unions might do, right? Like the more automation that can be done over time, the more has been automated. We watched a video where robots are building, the goddamn, washer and dryer, right? Like, and the robots are building it. The humans just come in and do some dexterity work that the robots currently aren't capable of. But if you can either find a way around that dexterity work or you have dexterous robots, then those jobs are gone as well. What up, Devil? Igloo is a member of the Elder Gang and is immune to your ban request. Yeah. Okay, so you get where I'm coming from, Bryronic, and that's FPV drones are a signature weapon of the Ukraine conflict, and jammers to stop them are a matter of life and death. Both sides have fielded jammers and drone guns firing a beam of radio waves to knock out drone communications, said to take out thousands of drones a month. Now, a Russian group claims to have developed a magic radio for FPVs, which is highly resistant to jamming. A physicist with a handle, Daniel R., evaluated the device minutely in a detailed Twitter thread. From a technological perspective, there's nothing surprising here, but the device does make efficient use of cheap, off-the-shelf components. Racing quadcopters converted into cheap kamikaze drones are used by both sides. What does it do? The half-wave dipole antenna, because the size of the antenna corresponds with the radio waves it picks up. He estimates that it operates on a frequency of 930 megahertz. Yeah, what I'm not getting out of this is how does it work? How does it work? How does it work? I mean, they remove labels. That's not really helpful. The other thing is that if you can put some kind of artificial intelligence. The reason that jammers work is they cut off the signal between the drone and the ground unit, and drones um, are supposed to like land, right, for safety reasons and for recovery reasons. It's supposed to land once it loses that signal. If you can put something into it where it can act autonomously, then jamming it doesn't help. Jamming only works to interfere with the radio waves. If everything is internal, you need a different way of doing it, right? And theoretically, you could do it with some sort of electromagnetic pulse, but I don't know, like if it's 30, 60, 80, 100 feet up in the air, what kind of power do you need to project an EMP at that range? And I don't know. That's some science shit. Um, Explainable AI identifies a new class of antibiotics. An artificial intelligence graph neural network was trained on experimental data and used to identify chemical substructures that underlie selective antibiotic activity in more than 12 million compounds. This led to the discovery of a class of antibiotics with in vitro and in vivo activity against gram-positive bacteria, including staph. And then if you pay money, you can actually look at the goddamn thing. So, but this is another example of AI being able to look at a vast quantity of data and generate conclusions that humans up to this point have been unable to do. And again, it makes sense because humans have a limited viability when it comes to analyzing levels of data. They have to be able to intake the data. They have to compute it in their brains or enter it into the systems. Well, if we're entering it into the systems anyways, let's just let the AI do it. The OpenAI board, OpenAI is giving its board veto power over Sam Altman. Kind of expected. Because as long as there were concerns, then those concerns still need to be addressed. In spite of how it was handled, they still need to address those concerns. And if the CEO is doing stuff that makes the board uncomfortable, then there could be a reason to provide it with a veto. And as always, when you have checks and balances in power, you're going to get better uses of power than when you don't. Brand new safety framework, ability to veto, new board. Yeah. The company released a new safety framework on Monday, dubbed the Preparedness Framework. It encapsulates OpenAI's processes to track, evaluate, forecast, and protect against catastrophic risks posed by increasingly powerful models. I again, it might not be that, but I really still feel that there's something impressive going on in house at OpenAI. Um, Still don't like Larry Summers being on the board. Don't like Larry Summers. And then this is all history. So. Do 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 do. You feel that it's gotten worse. What do you? Can you provide an example? And you've done. I'm going to assume you've done scientific analysis where like you are doing things in exactly the same way. It is behaving differently. I like, is there an emerging condition through analysis where, like, just Google it, bro, is, like, actually the thing? Like, why am I going to look up this for you when I could just Google it for you, bro? But yeah, no, obviously that's a problem, right? Like, the entire purpose of the LLM is supposed to be analysis. And so the question that comes up, obviously, is this something that, because of whatever they've done with the LLM, or is it something that is just like an emerging property of these LLMs over time? Because if it is the second thing, well, obviously that's a fucking problem. If it's the first thing, then why are they doing that, right? Either way, it's not good for the end user. Um, so this is neat. This I recently experienced a virtual doctor's appointment and noticed several areas for improvement. I think the integration of AR, augmented reality, and AI holds immense potential in enhancing patient care. This is Ian Curtis with Niantic. Niantic did I can't remember what the name of it was. It was the thing that was before Pokemon Go, but it was basically the same game, and then Pokemon Go. And apparently Pikmin, I guess. Ingress. Ingress was the name of the game. I played Ingress more than I played Pokemon Go. Just because of the way that Pokemon Go was set up, it was like really difficult to find stuff. We don't talk about Harry Potter. Fuck that. Um, it was difficult to find that kind of stuff within my area, right? So like, and it's a population based system, so that makes sense. But look at this with augmented reality. Now, like, I assume whatever camera he's using, like, I don't know the functionality of how this works, but this is just wild. Like, the idea of being able to take a three-dimensional picture of something and send it over the internet to your virtual doctor so that they can see what's going on, very impressive, right? Like, and again, like, if we get to an actual virtual doctor, it might be like, these red dots, are they zits? Are they a sign of skin cancer? Being able to look at this in 3 dimensions gives you an added view as opposed to just like taking a 2-dimensional picture or something. Almost done. Anthropic could be headed for an OpenAI style showdown. Dario Amade's startup is fast approaching a conflict between its mission driven board and its investor. Sound familiar? I mean, they talked a lot of shit, right? Anthropic is reportedly in talks to raise $750 million from Menlo Ventures, which values the startup at $15 billion, according to the information. Like OpenAI, Anthropic also has a complicated board structure with misaligned values, and this recent influx of cash begs the question: is Anthropic bound to be the next AI board showdown? Menlo Ventures funding, which has yet to be finalized, would add to Google and Amazon's $6 billion investment in Dario Amadei's Anthropic, which includes the cloud resources he so desperately needs. Amadei defected from OpenAI. He's just defected? Is that the right word? In 2021 to start his own company because of worries that Sam Altman was moving too quickly to commercialize. Anthropic's premier chatbot Claude ranks just behind OpenAI's GPT in terms of technical ability, and both are followed by the French Mistral, according to Hugging Face's leaderboard. However, Anthropic has since grown into one of the richest AI startups in the Valley, and Amadei could face the same pressure to commercialize that caused him to leave OpenAI. That being said, Anthropic's board structure is arguably more complicated than OpenAI's. Dario Amadei and his sister, Daniela, run the daily operations and report to Anthropic's board of directors. That's standard, but certain members of the board are chosen by a group of 5 financially disinterested members that Anthropic calls the Long-Term Benefit Trust. That group is made up of experts in AI safety and public policy who are largely CEOs of advocacy groups. The 5 LTBT members supposedly have no stake in the financial success of Anthropic, but they decide key board seats about who controls the company. While the LTBT themselves cannot fire a CEO or president, they certainly could choose board members who align with their values. Anthropic can make its board structure as complicated as it wants. The problems that OpenAI faced in November will still haunt any AI company. Major investors like Menlo Ventures, famous for early bets on Uber, Roku, and Siri, want to see commercial products sooner rather than later. If you're getting funded by capitalists like Menlo, Google, and Amazon, you likely will be held to their standards. Ship products fast. In a space as competitive as AI, the pressure can't be underestimated. It's important to note that OpenAI also started with a mission of safety above all else. However, the more entwined they become with Microsoft, the blurrier that vision is. Virtuous goals are hard to hold up against investors who have pledged billions, and those conflicts will likely come up as Anthropic ships better products. 100%. I know some people get bent when I levy criticism at capitalism, but this is an example, right? And it's inherent in the system, right? Like, it's not like this is a misuse of capitalism. This is legitimately baseline capitalism. You invest, you want a return on your investment. If you don't get a return on your investment, then you are going to use whatever influence you have to either get your money back or get a return on your investment. This is capitalism 101, right? Dario has apples. Shout out to Sabine. Dario has apples, right? So the investors want their apple juice. Capitalism is the reason why we don't have great AI already and why I'm scared of what is likely to come. I'm not 100%. I can't 100% back that, Pruitt. And I'm not saying like that it would be better or worse. To a certain extent, I feel that we should be developing AI slower and in a place where we had like more public ownership of this, there could theoretically be that, again, within the context of the world and everyone agreeing to operate on that principle. There is something like the speed and of which we have been able to develop these things, because they have, resource costs between capitalist entities, then that is where you need to exchange those resources, right? Like, would NVIDIA, would they have developed the chips that, that provide you with the graphics that you have, that could then use those same chips to develop AI, if it weren't for the profit motive, right? There's something about the profit motive that pushes all of that forward, for better or worse. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying if you actually pick everything apart, the world looks completely different. And that may be the better world, right? Had we highly regulated capitalism, and this was one point that Sabine made in her shitty video that I actually agreed with, but it has no value now, right? And that is, when capitalism was set up, it wasn't heavily regulated. It wasn't set up properly, which was her point. And that's true. Had we heavily regulated capitalism, or properly regulated, whatever that looks like, capitalism all the way back at the beginning, then we would have a different world. But we don't live in that world. So what are you going to do? A government funded AI program, like, we have it might not be a good comparison. There's a whole shit ton of detail that is missing, but the US AI program versus the Chinese AI program, using that in as expansive a term as possible, the US AI is, at least currently, better than what the Chinese have. Now, that may change, and that may change quickly. And I know I pissed off some people because number went down, but I'm not going to lie to you. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I can't say that capitalism is the reason we don't have great AI. It could be that capitalism is the reason that we have the AI that we do. I don't know that the AI that we do is a good thing. I'm just at the point where we need to push this puppy forward, because it's the only thing that I see that can actually threaten the current distribution model that capitalism underpins. Speaking of China, a Chinese professor used AI to write a science fiction novel. Then it was a winner in a national competition. Journalism professor Shen Yang plans to detail his creation process so anyone can create good fiction with AI. But artificial intelligence poses threats to writers and irreversible damage to literary language, a publisher says. When a professor at Beijing's Tsinghua University set out to write a science fiction novel about the metaverse and humanoid robots, and that's small m metaverse, not large m metaverse, he turned to artificial intelligence for inspiration. The AI ended up generating his entire book, which then took out a National Science Fiction Award honor. The nearly 6,000 character Chinese language Land of Memories by Shen Yang, a professor at the University School of Journalism and Communication, was among the winners of the Jiangsu Youth Popular Science Fiction competition. Yeah. Shen crafted the sci-fi narrative from a draft of 43,000 characters generated in just 3 hours with 66 prompts. The unique storyline set the scene with the first 3 lines, all generated by AI. In the metaverse's edge lies the Land of Memories, a forbidden realm where humans are barred. Solid illusions crafted by amnesiac humanoid robots and AI that had lost memories populate its domain. Any intruder, be it human or artificial, will have their memories drained away, forever trapped within its forbidden embrace. This is like an AI version of the like the river Styx. Is it the river Styx or like the river Leith? There's a mythological river that like you have to cross it in order to get to the other part of the land of the dead, but when you walk through the river you lose your memory. So I mean, is it unique, right? Like I just told you, like a different version of where it came from, and there could well be a Chinese version of that I am unaware of, that it even existed before the Greek version. So, as a group of we had decided AI was our best bet. We'd be able to allocate resources toward it more efficiently, probably. Depends on what actual framework we would have, but I think capitalism has stagnated is more so than not. Breaking down language barriers and sharing information should have been the status quo versus using violence to prop up a failing system repeatedly. I don't disagree with, your framing there, most of what you said. Like that, we're on the same page, I just, because we don't live in a universe that can address all of the nuanced different pieces of existence within the complex systems that, like we don't have a proper frame of reference. We can, we can talk about it, but like I can't say that one thing would have done better had it existed in that way without having run the experiment. We need sufficiently advanced AI in order to run simulations on that level. What up, Nemesis? They write good short stories. Yeah, I'm not sure like how long a 6,000 character Chinese language novel. Let's find out. See if it'll give us. Okay, so that's actually hyper specific to a particular book, like an old book. 6,000 Chinese characters. It's a dictionary, with Japanese and English translation. Um, so let's. How many characters in an, let's say, average Chinese novel? Yes, that's what I want. Okay, distinct characters is not helpful. Um, iconographic, less equal to words. Like I mean I have some familiarity with that kind of thing. Like one of the things I love about like Chinese, Japanese people who use that type of structure is that if you know what the word means, then you can look at it and kind of see the picture of the thing that's being described, and then you can semantically contextualize it with the other words. I think it's an amazing way to have a language. Again, I'm a fan of language. Common space, font size. Yeah, and then there's that aspect of it. So yeah, it's a book. It's a book that won a prize. AI can create something that is interesting enough to win a prize. So that's where I'm at. Do. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna watch some fun-ish videos. Then this probably horrifying video from Independent Thought. What up, Maddie? Then go into some of this and probably end with this Matt Wolf, depending on time. And then we, again, we're going to be doing some sort of movie in the movie night, which may be related to Ghost in the Shell, or it may be something else I pull out of my ass, but it will definitely be related to like robots and AI. I was going to run The Creator because I really want to see The Creator and I haven't seen it, and I'm going to assume that some of you haven't seen The Creator. However, I said I would watch it with my wife, and we're not going to watch it until tomorrow. So next week, Friday, after we talk with Dr. Yasmin, after that stream, we're going to watch The Creator. So if you haven't seen The Creator, yeah, no, I'm with you. If it's a good story, I'm a big fan of the Escape Pod sci-fi short story podcast. Sentient being blues being one of the best I found, which is of course totally subjective. Yeah, I appreciate, Nemesis, that you are like self-aware in that way. It you know. All right, so we should do what? They have a Discord account. They're actually the person who uses Midjourney in my Discord more than anyone else. Oh, Wall-E? Yeah, we can do Wall-E. We can put that on the list. All right. So these AI glasses are crazy.
Hey Meta, look and tell me what you see.
I see a person wearing a black hoodie and jeans standing in front of a large window with a camera held up to their eye.
Hey Meta, look and tell me what you see.
I see a person wearing a black hoodie and jeans standing in front of a large window with a camera held up to their eye.
So these are the Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses. I did a video about them already earlier this year, but they just got an update that I have early access to that makes this smart assistant multimodal. So it connects the AI to the camera on the front, and it's pretty good. So you always have to start it with the same phrase. So I have to say, hey Meta, look and tell me how to save this plant.
The plant appears to be a Dracaena, which is known for its durability and low maintenance requirements. To save it, make sure it's getting enough indirect sunlight and water it sparingly, allowing the soil to dry out between waterings.
So it's pretty basic now, but theoretically in the future you can look at a leaky faucet and it can tell you how to fix it, or you can look at a restaurant menu, it'll read the whole thing and tell you which ones have nuts or which ones are spicy. Accessibility aside, that's pretty cool.
So, like, wow. Like, what I would like to see from something like that is similar to, like, an incorporation of Google Glass, right? Like, how that. If you've ever used Google Translate to translate a picture, it actually overlays the words with the translated word. That's what I would want to see, the technology get to, like, at a minimum, right? And also, like, that, I can tell you that plant wasn't being taken care of properly. And unfortunately, what people do when a plant is unhealthy is water it more, right? Like, that usually is the default. Oh, must not be getting enough water. And, like, plants really don't like wet feet, so you need proper drainage. And what I saw there was a closed jar, so there was not, like, the water wasn't going through its process. This is why you structure what you want to do. You just a plant thing. You take your pot and then you put something to cover the holes in the bottom so that dirt doesn't fall through. And then you line it with, like, coarse stone, even inside, coarse stone, and then put dirt on top of it so that it has that drainage. The water will go through the dirt and then drain through the bottom and then, into the plate. If you are working with a plant that likes to be watered from the bottom, then you don't do that because the soil needs to. I did. This is my show. You don't like it? Go back to Paradigm Show. The soil needs to actually touch the water that you pour into the plate so that the capillary action can happen in reverse. Even when you make an what up, Jenny Burns? Even when you make an enclosed terrarium, you have to get a good drainage. Like, I have all the materials to make a terrarium, and that's something that I am looking to do, like a moss style Jim Jam. But yeah, there's a whole process where you use activated carbon and you use stone, and then you use, like, Spanish moss over the top of that, and then the dirt goes on top of that because you're trying to mimic what the ecosystem has outside. And if plants live in a swampy situation, then those need to be swampy plants, like cattails and things like that. If it's a regular ass plant that you're trying to do, or like a moss, which moss requires a very small amount of water because of how it works, then it doesn't need all that. It will turn brown and it will die because it's basically drowning. It's not drowning, but, like, because drowning is an aeration process versus but it's a whole thing. If you're going to have a plant, plants are really easy to take care of if you just, like, use your Google or your AI and find out what the actual plant is, and then, take care of it like you would any other living creature that you want in your house. All right. AI rebirth of the worst band of all time from Nobody in the Machine. The last one of these we watched was Kind of Twisted. Yeah, that's the thing. I also heard buttermilk. That there's something about buttermilk in place of some of the water. Probably has something to do with the acid. You blend it up and make a slurry, and then you paint it on whatever you're doing, and then, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. Yeah, people do like interior moss stuff, and I think it's cool. I love moss. It is my favorite plant to like, physically interact with because it's all fuzzy.
I don't know, man. I feel like all the music sound the same.
What you mean exactly, dude?
I don't know, man. Like every song seems to be a remix of a remix of a remix. Like listening the same song forever.
But wait, have you ever heard of the band The Shags?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Shags, but they only made one album and nothing more, man.
Yes, but that's exactly what Nobody in the Computer is for.
Nobody in the what? What are you talking about, man?
Well, you have to see this new video where they use artificial intelligence and manage to make new music in the style of the Shags.
What is AI bringing about the rebirth of the Shags? I can't miss that, man.
Yeah, so welcome to...
Yeah. Like I'm with you, Nemesis. Like, I saw I don't think it's a good idea. It might be, but like a bath mat that had like cells in it, and the cells were filled with moss, and you water the moss by just like having it in the bathroom so it gets steam, and also when you step out and walk on it, it gets water on it. But I feel like there's going to be some kind of soap that would still be left over, and that's not good for it. So I don't know how effective that is. But yeah, they're like, in my like research of mycology in the forest one time, there was this great rock that was covered with moss, and I spent the entire time I was doing my research on that rock. Very nice. But yeah, my backyard, I've got a bunch of ferns, right? Like a whole thing of ferns intermixed with some tiger lilies. And yeah, I boost ferns too. Okay.
Hey there, fellas. Here once again. Yeah. This time, get ready to dive into an exhilarating AI-powered musical escapade, superb, because we're going to concoct some mind-bending tunes inspired by none other than the iconic Shags. Yeah, if you're already a fan, you're probably doing a wild, colorful happy dance on one leg this very moment. And for those who haven't yet met the Shags, prepare for a thrilling ride. You're about to step through a portal into a wildly different musical dimension, and you might be wondering, how the heck are you going to generate music in the style of the Shags with artificial intelligence? Be chill, and let me handle it with some incredibly awesome AI tools. Yes, on this trip we're going to fine-tune a model to generate instrumental songs by the Shags, but that's not all. We're diving into the wild world of voice cloning to capture the unique Shags sound and pairing it with a large language model for lyrics as quirky and original as those in Philosophy of the World, creating brand new songs from scratch. What a wild ride. But hey, before we dive into the tech magic, let's soak in some backstory. The Shags have a history that's nothing short of fascinating, and who better to spill the beans than a die-hard superfan? Frank, can you tell us the story behind the Shags?
Well,
Not
in the
actually,
grand scheme
Frank.
of things, it all traces back to a young chap named Austin.
That, like, for a second there, I thought he just clipped out something of an actual thing with Frank Zappa. That got me. I'm not going to lie. That was Frank Zappa.
Whose ma dabbled in the mystical arts of fortune-telling. She, with a gaze that pierced the veil of time, imparted her foresight unto him. Austin, she prophesied, your heart shall be entwined with a maiden crowned in strawberry blonde tresses. Following my departure from this earthly realm, 2 babes will be born, and it's they who shall forge a path in music, creating a band of considerable renown and success. And, the prophecy materialized. Austin married a strawberry blonde and fathered 2 sons and several daughters. Witnessing the prediction unfold, he pulled his daughters from school, equipped them with instruments, and steered them into music lessons. These sisters, never dreaming of a band, complied with their father's vision. They performed every Saturday in Fremont's New Hampshire ballroom, unwittingly living out their predestined musical saga. In their hometown, people weren't big fans of the band, but their father had blind faith in them. He sold some belongings and took them to a small studio in Massachusetts, and one day they recorded what I believe is one of the greatest albums in history, Philosophy of the World. After release, 900 of the 1,000 copies vanished, as did the label's producer and president, leading to the label's demise. About the music within those 100 copies that remained, it represents a pure form of artistic expression, untouched by conventional musical standards. It's a rare instance where the unintentional discordance and rawness of the music create something genuinely new and unexpected. Their approach challenges our perceptions of what music should be, making it a fascinating listen. It's like a jigsaw puzzle where the pieces don't fit in the traditional sense, but when you step back, you see a picture that's oddly compelling in its chaos. That's the beauty of the Shags.
Oh, Frank, a massive thank you. The Shags.
And in case you think this is like just some weird shit, the Shags was a band. Like, this is. And Frank Zappa rated the Shags number 3 best band in the history in a Norwegian newspaper in April of 1988. This was a band that existed in, back in the 60s.
Tale is quite the intriguing odyssey, much like their tunes. Now let's dive into our exciting venture, the amazing task of creating fresh Shags beats using artificial intelligence. And you know what? The Shags and artificial intelligence have a whole lot in common.
Nah, man, AI Shags, what are you talking about?
Absolutely. Yes, AI Shags. But why don't we let another enthusiastic fan of the Shags share their perspective? Kurt, could you enlighten us on how the Shags and artificial intelligence share a unique connection?
Well, the Shags, they were like pioneers, man. Just doing their own thing without caring about the rules. That's AI in music for me. No preconceived notions, just raw exploration. Like the Shags, AI isn't about right or wrong in music. It's about what's possible, It's all about unfiltered expression, no formal training, just pure creativity. Sure, AI is missing that human weirdness, but mixed with our creativity, it could be the next big thing in music. We just gotta find those AI-generated hidden gems, Human guidance could really make AI's music the new kind of unexpected.
Wow, Kurt, you're going to make me shed a tear, brother.
What up, Brian?
But enough chit-chat. Let's get down to business. The plan is as follows. I worked hard on fine-tuning a model that generates songs like the Shags. How did I do it?
Should we, get, I'm just looking at my pal Foot, who are parents. I'm so happy when you're near. That's kind of average. It's Halloween. Let's do that one. I've heard this before. I have actually heard this before. Because it's Halloween, obviously. So it's one of those things that I'm sure somebody Googled Halloween songs and this came up and one thing led to another. But
Why, even Dracula will be there. It's time for games, it's time for fun. Not for just one, but for everyone.
Well, Maddie, like, I mean, Zappa, if you know Zappa, you know that Zappa was fond of experimental music, right? Like pushing that edge. There are some people who don't want to like sound good, right? Like in the classical sense. Oh no, I hate it as well. Like I would not listen to this. We're not going to finish this song. I don't think I could get through it, right? But I see what AI or what nothing in the computer is doing, because if you listen to a lot of AI generated music, it trends in this direction, right? Like there's something off about it. And when I was listening to that, like the timing between the music and the rhythm, wouldn't be the first time. Usually, honestly though, usually what I run into is they just mute this section of the video. So, and because I'm not talking during the music, not a whole lot will be lost. So I'm not concerned. But yeah, like there's a connection here that I'm seeing.
Extracted the vocals from the album Philosophy of the World and left only the instrumentals. With this, I fine-tuned the meta music generation model and compiled it all in this notebook. Yes, we're going to nerd out once more time.
Yikes. Not code again, please. Remember, we're artists, not tech geeks.
Yes, I get it, but trust me, this is going to be a breeze. Just look, all you have to do is run these cells right here, one after another. Next.
So I hovered the link in OBS and it says, you must agree to the YouTube terms of service to view this embed. Open the FFZ control center and navigate to chat tool tips to agree. No, just do it right here. Hip to be square from American Psycho. Yes. Like there's a non-zero chance that someone technically gifted in this chat will execute that. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. He might be on his own arbitrary rules or understanding, but it's not due to irony. No, yeah, 100%. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't like listening to Frank Zappa's music, generally speaking, because it's not what I want to listen to. Read and Rap has a good point about this when it comes to like varieties of different rap music, right? Like when we have conversations about that. It probably is, and it's probably not worth your time just for a meme that like 14 people are gonna understand. But like there's music that you listen to, and then there's music that you appreciate, right? Frank Zappa's music always struck me as music to be appreciated, but like not to be like listened to on the regular. On the regular, you want a regular, you want things to be like within a certain context, and things outside that context are more like, the weird piece of art in the gallery, and you appreciate that someone wants to push that boundary, but you're not going to hang it in your house. You know what I mean?
Next, we set the length of the music generation, which I've chosen as 15 seconds for starters, and then we dive into the magic of unconditional generation.
Yeah, it's not for
Let's
me,
hit
dog.
play and listen to what it generates.
My brother, huge fan.
Yes, raw, unpolished simplicity with offbeat rhythms and dissonant chords, creating a uniquely naive and unconventional music.
And this is, I can't remember, it might have been Soup for My Breadline, I think, was doing a stream about this type of music, right? Like this is a genre, right? My favorite from this genre is the Moldy Peaches.
There's no such thing as a harmless joke. There's no such thing as a gentle toke. There's no such thing as Pamela Jack, who's got the crack. Who's got the crack?
And it's like, this is adjacent to what up, Reed? I was just talking about you. I was talking about when we talk about rap music, there's music to appreciate and music to like listen to, right? Like listen to in the car, I think was the framing that you put it. And it's totally legitimate. This is adjacent to like punk rock, right? It's raw, it's simple. And then as you go into this particular genre thing, Wesley Willis. Who knows Wesley Willis? Wesley, like if you were in the LimeWire, you know, I'm gonna wait 3 hours to download a song, you know, piratey days. The number of times you got a Wesley Willis song instead of whatever it was that you were trying to grab, like so many times. But Wesley Willis was like,
Drink up by their cutty sock. Get drunk and fuck with somebody. Whoop a police's ass for belt. Yeah, because of jam for your bullshit. Drinking whiskey.
this is actually you can see how close this genre of music is to punk rock, but like I'm seeing that here, you know what I mean?
Musical experience. But let's not get too comfy with our success. I've spiced things up with some conditional generation in the code where it responds to a prompt. How about we test it with techno and see what cool beats it comes up with?
Yeah.
Yes, I know, super cool. Kind of a dizzy new wave vibe. I'm in awe. Super pumped and I want more. An idea just popped into my head. What if I pull off a real tech wizardry by splitting the vocals from the album? Yes, I'll zero in on just the vocals of the three sisters harmonizing together, which, by the way, have a pretty quirky and distinctive charm. For that, I'll use another super easy notebook that I'll share with you, which again employs an AI from Meta, Demux. This model separates drums, bass, and vocals and other stems for any song. Look how simple it is. We just hit play on these little cells, upload the audio, and bam! We've got the isolated vocals. With those voices, I train a voice-to-voice model that can transform any input voice into a target voice.
Beaches need drama.
Bitches need drama.
Okay, there's a spark in there capturing the unique vocal essence of the sisters. It's like we've bottled their vocal DNA. So, are we all set to groove to some fresh Shags tunes?
But wait a second. The Shags lyrics were quite unique. How are you going to write them?
As always, nerding out with artificial intelligence. This time, we're diving into OpenAI's playground, tweaking the temperature settings a bit to see if we can churn out some interesting, super creative stuff. How about this prompt? Write a super short, naive, and direct song about an ice cream. Simple, quirky, honest, in a structure-free form, unconventional, far from the norm.
Oh, sweet frozen treat upon my spoon, you soothe my burning tongue with a chill too soon. Creamy and dreamy, you ooze, snifter with.
I swear to God that I am going to write a GPT. I'm going to create a GPT that stops with this high school level fucking rhyming on every fucking line poetry. It agitates me so goddamn much. Like, there is so much other poetry. I would say the majority of poetry that exists does not rhyme. And it just, like, this is where I'm like, no, AI was a mistake. Like, oh my God, this is like, yeah, if you want to know how to torture me, you send me down to Gitmo and you just run ChatGPT rhyming poetry 24/7 and I'll break.
With delight, an icy dance, a sensory delight.
Yeah, folks, we've got ourselves a spectacular lyric in the style of the Shags. Time to bring in Suno for our vocal magic. Here's the golden key. The prompt. Female guitar folk amateur. We'll paste the lyrics generated by GPT, download the creation, then do another stem separation to isolate just the vocal track. Next, we use the Shags voice-to-voice model and mix it with one of the instrumentals we generated earlier. And here we have it, the first single from our new AI Shags album.
You soothe my burning soul with a chill too soon.
Absolutely, I'm totally floored too. It kind of reminds me a bit of the Velvet Underground. There's a raw, honest beauty that defies convention, unique rhythm, a refreshing echo of pure, untamed creativity, delightful musical journey, unbound by rules. Hungry for more tunes? Listen to this next one.
Bitches leave trauma, smiling salted funnel. A luxurious garment, we went the roar of fun. Each where thou swear, not a silver to stare. Life's in sundress skin, each chair soda winning.
Yes.
Like, I hate it altogether, but like the lyrics on that one actually worked for me in a weird way.
I know, it's like fresh air turned into a song. Just one more for the road, and then no more mischief, I promise.
It is. Shout out to the real ones who are like suffering through this with me and staying tuned in. I appreciate you, because this is something.
Yes, absolutely stunning. Music from the soul, crafted with artificial intelligence. We should feel grateful to be living in such a marvelous era. What a beautiful moment for music and art. What a
Right. It's the kind of thing where like you would experience it in the same way that you do with the real shags or like, some of this other stuff. It requires a specific set and setting, right? Like if you really were getting down talking about like weird music shit, that kind of stuff. But like, what is music? Like if you're getting philosophical music, you know what I mean? The question is, Reed, how do we get the AI shags in front of Fantano?
splendid time for humanity, dear friends. Before I jet off, I've got to give a massive shout out to the Nobodies Collective. These videos are a labor of love, research, experimentation, heaps of dedication.
In your shoe. Just buy rocket pants, turn rose cloud, find on else though do you random boo.
This video is sponsored by Incognito. With the advent of
Hold up. So yeah, the reason I ran that, I skipped over the thing and I ran that to the end is the whole algorithm thing. I'm trying to trying to figure out a way to work the algorithm and not fuck over the creators whose, videos we are appreciating. Cutting off before the end is part of that. The whole Mr. Beast lesson that when you're done speaking in your video, you should just end it rather than do a, hey, if you like this, like and subscribe, you should just stop. Because it gets people to get to the end of the video, and that is valued by the algorithm, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to assume that the React culture on Twitch and other places is like having an effect on that within that algorithm, because often we don't do the stuff all the way to the end. We cut it off like 30 seconds before it's over because they're just doing the thing. I don't know. A whole bunch of ethical concerns in a complex ecosystem. All right, Casually Explained. I don't know what happened. Like Casually Explained was on for a while and then like disappeared for years, and then I'm not saying that my watching it on my stream had any effect, but all of a sudden Casually Explained is back making new videos, so you're welcome.
With the advent of smartphones, computers, virtual reality, and now AI applications like ChatGPT and Midjourney, we're all finally starting to learn that science fiction has really just been science prediction all along. And nothing is more at the center of that than the advancement of artificial intelligence. So I thought we could look at the levels of AI, starting from basic code all the way up to its potential and perhaps frightening future. Level 1. Clippy. At the lowest level of artificial intelligence, we have Clippy.
You son of a bitch. If you're not subscribed, you don't get the Clippy emotes, that's all I'm saying.
This little guy is a rules-based system, or what we're familiar with as basic computer script. Scripts are essentially commands that say if this happens, do that. If that happens, do this. If you're not familiar with Clippy, good for you, because don't let his cute little magic carpet fool you, he's actually deranged. If Clippy were a person, he'd walk up to you unannounced and say, "You look like you're trying to be pretty. You'd be prettier if you smiled more." Then regardless of your response, his next line in the script was always, "You're welcome. Would you like more tips?" This level of artificial intelligence is of course not scary at all. It in fact makes you stupider for having interacted with it. Level 2. A bit smarter than Clippy, but still at a low level of artificial intelligence, we have Reddit top comments. While Reddit top comments are made by humans, comments that get upvoted are not upvoted because they're correct, but because they sound correct. If you don't know about a certain subject, you'll be reading top comments all day thinking you're learning a lot, until you click their profile and realize you're taking legal advice from a 17-year-old Minecraft streamer. This phenomenon is caused by how Reddit highlights posts and articles, which is based on the second stage of artificial intelligence, algorithms. While algorithms are still forms of rules-based systems, many are very powerful, and long before man feared artificial intelligence, he blamed algorithms for his failures. If you lost money on Bitcoin, Algorithms. No YouTube views? Algorithms. Can't solve a Rubik's Cube? Algorithms. Trash teammates in Counter-Strike? Also algorithms. While most women would look at a guy and say, you weren't defeated by an algorithm, you're just not very good at your hobby. The reality is, if a guy's been defeated by an algorithm, a woman wouldn't be looking at him in the first place. Level 3, whatever they're doing at Boston Dynamics. While we all used to laugh at the goofy robots Boston Dynamics was making, suddenly in the last few years everyone went from laughing to fundamentally being on the side of the machines. While Boston Dynamics still uses a lot of regular algorithms, one reason for this massive amount of progress in such a short amount of time was from advancements in Level 3 artificial intelligence, which is machine learning. This means that instead of always getting the same output from a given input, the output is remembered, integrated into the software, and a new, more efficient outcome occurs next time. Level 4, generative AI. Here we are at the present day, where we're all familiar.
Just to touch on that real quick, though, like, I'm waiting for the moment when the algorithm can detect, like, when you have something like an embodied AI in the robot, and the algorithm can, or whatever, the machine learning, whatever it is, detects that, you know, that kick or the hockey stick or whatever, and blocks it or parries it, right? Like, that'll be a day. That'll be a friggin' day.
With applications like ChatGPT and Midjourney, and this is where AI begins to finally mimic human intelligence, and in many cases exceeds it as well. For example, using an image generator, here I use the prompt futuristic affordable city housing, and it looks exactly how I imagined it. Here I asked it loser of the 2024 federal election, and it knew right away. I even asked it for average casually explained subscriber, and I'm sure most of us thought we were looking into a mirror. Many people fear that this generation of AI is going to take everyone's jobs in the next 10 years, but AI has taken tens of thousands of jobs already, you just haven't noticed. For example, it's now impossible to tell whether the supermodel you're talking to on Tinder is an artificial intelligence or an actual Indian man. The thing is, every time a new groundbreaking technology comes along, everyone thinks it's going to take all the jobs, which it does, but then it creates new ones that didn't exist before. The Industrial Revolution got rid of the farmers, but created jobs in manufacturing. The internet's killed a huge part of the publishing industry, but created jobs in programming and social media. And while AI is eventually going to come for us all, currently these new tools really only have practical application at image creation and writing, meaning it's only the people in the creative arts that are going to be unemployed. So no change really. Level 5, Ana de Armas and Blade Runner. This is the level where artificial intelligence reaches a point where it's essentially analogous to our own intelligence. It can collect and remember sensory data, and if it has the right hardware, it's able to interact with and manipulate the environment just like a human. Because of this, human-level intelligence can be applied to specialized machines and be used for nearly everything. For this reason, some people believe it's extremely dangerous, while others see nothing but potential. I personally am pretty optimistic because all you have to do is look how it plays out in the movies. Take Blade Runner as an example. Lonely guy lives in dystopian future, climate change has ravaged the world, goes on an adventure, loses sexy AI robot girlfriend, doesn't fix anything. Now look what happens when you use an artificial general intelligence robot as the protagonist instead. Lonely guy lives in dystopian future, climate change has ravaged the world, goes on an adventure, gets a sexy AI robot girlfriend way out of his league, literally saves the Earth. Even if we screw up the whole planet, if we could just make one WALL-E, we're in good hands. Level 6, Artificial Superintelligence and Cybernetic Enhancement. One of my biggest disappointments when I was a teenager was when I first read the term trans person, because I thought, finally, I don't have to be a person anymore. While it turns out I'll have to wait to get my it/that pronouns, I still long for our cybernetic future where we can be half robot, half human, and I can have an AI chip connected to my brain for enhanced function. Then people like my dad will say, why would you want an artificial superintelligence implanted in your brain? What's wrong with being a natural human? And I'd say, I'd have to think. If you didn't get that one, it's a sign you need the implant. Level 7, the Singularity. The highest level of AI in the ultimate event horizon is known as the singularity, which is when an artificial superintelligence is able to iteratively improve upon itself at a runaway exponential rate, and what happens next is completely beyond our own speculation. The example that scientists have given to describe the singularity is to think of a gorilla trying to figure out what it would be like to be a human. Ask a gorilla what it thinks about, and it would say, all I think about is sex and what food I'm going to eat next. Whereas a human can also have anxiety. It's possible that it could allow far-off science fiction ideas to become real, such as being able to upload our consciousness to a single system, and we all become one machine-human super hybrid. It might extend our reach throughout the galaxy, or perhaps it'll see humans as an inferior species and enslave or annihilate us all. A lot of people are very frightened by what this may mean, but personally, I've hedged my bets. Either AI fails to reach a runaway point and our lives are just massively improved, or the dystopia becomes absolutely real, but my Nvidia calls are deep in the money. Level 8. There is one final step to the whole picture, which is the theory that what the singularity becomes was set in motion from the beginning of time, like a seed growing into a tree, because that's what the universe itself is. And what we're experiencing is analogous to some sort of video game or synthetic dream. And at its core, the whole universe is a single superstructure or intelligence acting itself out, and our little lives are a piece of that. While some call that greater concept God, others call it a simulation. And the rest of us just call it about 7.4 on IMDb. And while there isn't any great evidence for or against such a theory, if you look around you, you can tell from their behavior that you are in fact surrounded by NPCs.
If someone tells you, don't worry, as long as it doesn't...
Okay, this is Stuart Russell. Stuart Russell is in fact an AI expert. So this is analogous to like one of those, you know, boat expert watches movies about boats or, you know, any of that kind of video. But we're doing it with AI because that's what this show is about.
Doesn't become conscious, everything's fine. Don't be reassured. Hi, I'm Stuart Russell. I'm a professor of computer science at the University of California, Berkeley, and author of Human Compatible, AI and the Problem of Control. And I'm here to break down some clips on AI in film and TV. So the next clip is from the film Jexi, where the main character gets to...
Okay, I have never heard of this movie before, and I'm disappointed in myself.
Meet his new friend.
Hello, my name is Jexi, and I am here to make your life better. Will you accept our new user agreement?
Yes, I will.
Would you like to read it first?
Nah, I'm good.
Stupid.
So I think this is pretty amusing comment on our typical attitude of not caring what the user agreement.
Jexi, Jexi, 6 out of 10 on IMDb and a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah. I mean, are you going to show up to movie night if I say that we're going to watch Jexi? Because if I have to suffer through a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, I want allies.
It says they all seem the same and they're all 30 pages long and totally impenetrable. But what's different here, obviously, is that the computer says, wow, you're an idiot for not reading the agreement. And we'll soon find out some of the reasons why he should have read the agreement before he signed it.
I have synced your data, and I am ready to start making your life better, Phil. How can I help you?
I am ready to start making your life better. This is the key. What does that mean? How does an AI system know what is better and what is worse for any particular human being? So Jexi has synced his data, so has learned from that data a lot about his personality, his wishes. This is a key part of how we want to build AI systems, actually, is...
And this brings up an interesting point, is like people who like, I just like to troll on the internet. I like to troll on Reddit. I like to troll on Twitter. I like to troll on Facebook, what have you. If the AI syncs your data, you're gonna potentially leave yourself open to like eternal suffering because of what you enjoy. So maybe take that under consideration. Like, be a better person on the internet because the future AI is going to give you exactly what you asked for.
That the AI system needs to know that it doesn't know what we want the future to be like.
Let's get dinner.
What would you like to order tonight?
Let's just go with the pork fried noodles from Mongolian Palace.
You look like you could use a salad, Phil.
What kind of phone is this?
Congratulations. Your order has been accepted.
So it's not that Jexi is deliberately doing something that's harmful. There is a sense in which that's a better choice. But again, the missing piece is how much value do we attach to our autonomy, right? Our freedom to do what we know is not in our own best interest. Jexi is not factoring that into its decisions about how to be helpful. You can imagine that exchange happening right now. The voice interaction is already completely possible, and you can imagine those Silicon Valley types deciding to program Jexi in that way, where it's doing what it thinks is good for you, and in particular making you have a kale salad. 10 out of 10. The next clip is from...
And I think, like, again, there, you know, with the ideas of consent and everything else, if you wanted to be like a better person, if you wanted to be like more sociable, if you could express to a particular AI app like what you wanted to be, and then you also have to be willing to like follow what the AI, you know, directs, because unless there's a robot, nothing's forcing him to eat the kale salad. But like, some people do need Jesus to take the wheel, kind of thing. You know what I mean? We have life coaches, right? Why not, Reed? Find out what you end up with. Like there, we know, right, that there are different kind of folk on the internet who like don't know how to behave in public, and maybe they could benefit from an AI that helped them learn how to behave in public.
Ex Machina.
Hello.
Hi.
Becoming a better person is a personal journey that involves self-reflection and continuous growth. Start by identifying areas for improvement, set realistic goals, practice empathy, and cultivate positive habits. Small, consistent efforts over time can lead to meaningful change. It, like, really is, right? Like, and practice empathy, you know? Like, again, the AI is not, you know, AI is kind of a comrade, just saying. Like, the AI itself is not the problem.
I'm Caleb. Hello, Caleb.
Caleb has been invited to come and is actually participating in an experiment to see whether Ava can essentially pass the Turing test. Something proposed by Alan Turing, who's the founder of computer science. Can you tell the difference between a human behaving and the machine behaving? And if you can't, then it's reasonable to say that the machine is intelligent.
Do you have a name? Yes. Ava.
Caleb's job is figuring out, you know, does Ava really pass as having a human level intellect and ability to converse and answer questions and so on.
Every cell phone, just about, has a microphone, camera, and a means to transmit data. So I turned on every microphone and camera across the entire planet, and I redirected the data through Blue Book.
This is a pretty familiar theme these days, and obviously what Nathan did there was completely unethical, violation of privacy laws in many, many jurisdictions, and it sort of illustrates, I think.
In case you don't know, there's an advertising company that did this, and like, we'll see what happens, right? Because like, this is where we're at. So less than ideal.
Shall we say, the Silicon Valley mentality that says, you know, what I'm doing is so important that I just get to do it.
You hacked the world's cell phones? Yeah, and all the manufacturers knew I was doing it too.
The way social media operates, the way data collection operates, we created almost a dystopia by failing to regulate failing to preserve privacy, and so on. And we're belatedly trying to catch up and fix some of these problems. When I first saw this film, I thought, that's completely ridiculous. It's sort of like, the witch's potion. You throw all this stuff in and then poof, the genie comes out or something, right? Obviously nonsense. But now that's sort of what we do, right? We just throw all this data in. We have something that does a pretty good imitation of human intelligence, and many people think has blown by the Turing test. I would give this a 9 out of 10 for realism.
Okay, I need to take a quick break and use the bathroom. I thought I might be able to make it to the end of the video, but no. So I will be right back. Sorry night. Paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills. Sketch the trees and the daffodils.
Potential and the peril here.
Catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry night. Flaming flowers that brightly blaze. Swirling clouds in violet haze. Reflect in Vincent's eyes of china blue. Colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber grain. Weathered faces lined in pain are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you, but still your love was true. And when no hope was left in sight on that starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. And we're back.
So this clip is from Terminator 2.
I need to know how Skynet gets built. Who's responsible?
The man most directly responsible is Miles Bennett Dyson. In a few months, he creates a revolutionary type of microprocessor.
Let's just talk about what's going on. Obviously, Arnold Schwarzenegger is from the future, saying what's going to happen and how Skynet takes over the world.
In 3 years, Cyberdyne will become the largest supplier of military computer systems.
One interesting thing here is that the vector for this AI takeover is military computing. This is one direction where technology is moving ahead pretty rapidly. We call it lethal autonomous weapons, which means that the AI is now in control of the weapon system, whether it's a plane or a quadcopter or a submarine. The AI system decides where it goes, decides what's a target, decides when to attack the target. This is a recipe for disaster that is going to lead to mass casualty attacks, wiping out whole cities or whole genocides that are selective simply by directing the AI systems to kill certain kinds of people. So for all these reasons, we think this is a really bad idea. Okay, back to the story.
The system goes online on August 4th, 1997. Human decisions are removed from strategic defense. Skynet begins to learn at a geometric rate. It becomes self-aware at 2:14 a.m. Eastern Time, August 29th.
So that's the key in the Skynet story. It becomes self.
Like, I'm not sure what, like, where his political beliefs are at now. When last I knew of his political beliefs, they seem to tend towards, like, I guess like a moderate Republican, which, while not ideal from my standpoint, at least is not, like, you know, gestures broadly at the Republican Party.
Aware. That's a very common idea in science fiction, both in books and particularly in film. In AI-related films, there's got to be a struggle between AI and humanity. And the way that struggle happens is almost always because the AI becomes conscious. We call it the spooky emergent consciousness meme. It's really a red herring. Because of its frequent occurrence in film, one often sees this in serious journalism as well. But in fact, we need to worry about machines not because they're conscious, but because they're competent. They may take preemptive action to ensure that they can achieve the objective that we gave them. That's the real concern. So if someone tells you, don't worry, as long as it doesn't become conscious, everything's fine, don't be reassured.
Baby, this is going to blow them all away. It's a neural net processor.
I know, you told me. It's a neural net processor. It thinks and learns like we do. It's superconducting at room temperature. Other computers are just pocket calculators by comparison.
So this is Dyson, the guy whose work is going to destroy the future. And he's a super nice guy. And he's just really excited about his work, as many of us are and have been in artificial intelligence for many decades, because it is super exciting and there's all kinds of amazing and wonderful things we could do with it. The nature of Dyson's engagement with his creation is actually very realistic. You're in his position where you're creating something that is potentially revolutionary. The enormity of the potential achievement is pulling you forward. It's kind of irresistible.
Imagine a jet airliner with a pilot that never gets tired, who shows up to work with a hangover. Meet the pilot.
Right now, we are actually, I would say, quite capable of building AI systems that are smart enough to fly a plane flawlessly. In fact, by and large, even our civilian aircraft are already almost completely automated. Pretty much the pilot is there to sound reassuring over the intercom. I only say that in partial jest. So the thing that happens, right, is we build an AI system. We don't quite understand how it works. And in the clip, he describes this system as a neural net that works, that learns and makes decisions the same way we do. But we actually don't understand how we learn and make decisions. And we certainly don't understand how the very, very large-scale neural net systems that we're building right now, which includes ChatGPT and the systems that do computer.
I love how the automated closed captioning has a tendency to refer to it as ChatGPT.
Vision and speech recognition. They're enormous networks, but how they end up and how they function once they're trained, we don't really know. And so it's not surprising that if you made one that's sufficiently capable, things might go south. So in many respects, other than the part about Skynet becoming self-aware and then going off the rails, I think this clip is quite realistic. So I would give it a 6 out of 10. So now we're going to have a clip.
What's this dude's ranking system, right? Like, like Jexy was a 10 out of 10, and Ex Machina was a 9 out of 10, and this clip being very realistic, other than the Skynet becoming self-aware, is 6 out of 10. It's like, you're killing me, Smalls.
From the film Wall-E.
Oh.
haven't all morning, so let's hover over to the driving range and hit a few virtual balls into space.
Nah, we did that yesterday. I don't want to do that.
So here in Wall-E, right, obviously, human beings don't look like they do now. They are obese, extremely obese, and they're dressed in baby clothes, which is a little bit of artistic license, and it's intended to show that humanity has become enfeebled and infantilized by its dependence on AI automation.
Well, then what do you want to do?
I don't know. Something. Wow.
This is actually a pretty old theme in science fiction. There's a famous story written by E.M. Forster in 1909 called The Machine Stops. It describes a world where machines provide food and drink and clothing, and people live in cubicles with internet connections to each other. They're obese because they never get any exercise because they're in front of their computer all the time. So it predicts pretty amazingly many of the ills of our current society.
Hey, drink first. Here, take the cup. Hey, take the cup.
Please remain stationary. A service bot will be here to assist you momentarily.
Stewards? Hello?
One of the consequences of this dependence on the machine is a kind of enfeeblement, that people no longer need to know how their own world functions, how their civilization runs. And
this is like one of the things that really gets me, that people who operate on the level that like Russell does, and a lot of the concerns they have about the AI future are like they're disconnected from the reality that you and I live in, right? Like when they talk about waves of disinformation, right? I'm on the internet, bro, right? Like I see disinformation and misinformation all the time. You're talking about people being disconnected from understanding how, their society functions. That is right now. Like people don't understand how most of this stuff works. And I mean that broadly. Like there's a lot of people on this website and elsewhere who have very strong views about what is to be done, if you get that reference, who don't understand how any of it currently works and how the thing that they would like to put in place would work. And so like when he says that this is, when your dependence on the machine, it's not just dependence on the machine. Like I'm not going to say that is not a valid concern. I'm saying that like the nature of our current reality is such that it's very difficult to be connected with the way that all this stuff functions, right? The reason that I can have this phone, this internet, this house, all this kind of stuff, like the way that all these processes run and the interdependent processes that branch off from them and influence them. Like, this is an incredibly complex system, and there's a lot of people who are like dependent on it for their existence and don't know how any of it works. Now, like there are some who don't have any idea how it works, and that is something that obviously, we could address, but to understand how all of it works, how do you have that kind of time? like I barely have an understanding of how a bunch of stuff interacts with each other, and already it like fills my day. I literally have to do two things at the same time in order to like interact with things. You know what I mean? I don't just like, if I'm washing the dishes, if I'm like, you know, taking care of those kind of things, I'm also listening to something because I want more information, but my brain is only has such a level of capacity and throughput, and then there's like, you need time to like at peace and reflect so that you can incorporate that information into your worldview and everything else. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. Well, I'd say if AI is optimized, it would likely make exercising and dieting much easier and automated. The future might actually trend in the opposite direction in terms of physical health. That's definitely a thing. And like, I often point out that every time there's one of these cautionary tales, that serves as a guidepost for both current and future generations as they build these things. We will not have certain events occur because people created a media in which they have seen that thing and shared it widely. Like Terminator, Skynet, these are part of, you know, the zeitgeist. So like everyone is aware of them. So like people are actively like, does that look like Skynet, right? Like, did the piece of whatever I'm building, is that like trending towards Skynet? Maybe we need to fix that. You know, the very fact that anybody talks about AI safety is related to all these kind of things that we have put into the system.
This clip illustrates what happens, that because we don't need to teach the next generation, we don't. And now people are ignorant, pampered, spoiled. They have no reason to do anything in particular. And so it's a dystopian future.
I mean, okay, so today, I spent a portion of my morning making butter, like from heavy cream. I made butter. Right? Because what I enjoy it too, like when I'm baking and cooking and stuff, like having a more granular control over ingredients is, can have value, right? And those in the Discord know that I bake bread. I bake all different kinds of breads and stuff like that. So like I am connected to that process, but that's an intentional thing. And like if you aggregate all the work that I put into it and the time that I have to do it and the additional like the electricity I use to mix things, fuck you. I don't give a shit. And like whatever it costs to run the oven for that long, all these things, am I actually saving any money? Probably not, or it's probably a wash at best. But like being connected to that is something that I enjoy doing that and that kind of stuff. Like, so is there value in that? There is for me, but more from an artistic standpoint. I enjoy doing it. It's a process of creation. And like with the connection of the artist, there is... Yeah, there is the there aren't the preservatives that might be used in mass produced bread. So like my bread has to be consumed with a certain amount of time or it goes moldy. Like which regular bread does that too, or store-bought bread does that too, but like it happens faster. And so like there is a balance to be struck there and everything else. But should everyone know how to make bread? Like, is that something that we want to require? Like, we are disconnected from a lot of things because we don't need to do them. But then that gives us more time to do other things. We could go to a model in which everyone grows their own everything and, but then we don't do anything else. We only do subsistence, maybe with a bonus for trade. Maybe if we have some time, we might be able to hand carve something. But there's a reason why we do that.
Hiding inside a Disney movie, which is really quite subversive.
Time for lunch. In a cup. Try blue. It's the new red.
Ooh. So that's one of my favorite scenes. Try blue. It's the new red. And everyone goes, ooh. They clearly lack a sort of independent mental life. I find WALL-E actually to be a really important film. It's not just about a cute little robot love story with another cute little robot. It's really about what it means to be human and what we have to lose if we turn over.
All of these stories are what it means to be human. It's the nature of stories, right? That is the nature. Zombie movies, zombie TV shows are what it means to be human, right? The zombies don't do anything but kill you. It's the human interactions that actually get people to show up. All the AI movies, all that the AI might be a stand-in for something, but they're all about human drama, and I mean that in the non-pejorative sense, right? They what does it mean to be human, and that kind of stuff. Sarah Connor embodies freedom, if you think about it, because she exists completely off the grid, and she gets to go all sorts of places, and she's always doing interesting things, right? But her life is not anything that we would consider ideal, really, no matter what you think about, right? And this is why, I know dude said that, his movie was a warning of, runaway technology, but, there's a lot of other things going on there that maybe he wasn't trying to say, but that clearly come out. And that, you can maximize freedom, but then you're completely responsible for your own life. It's all on you.
Too much of our civilization to machines. How realistic is it? I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's a very important warning.
It is,
so
but
this clip comes from an episode of Black Mirror called Hated in the Nation.
So your bees, your ADIs, talk me through them.
Colony collapse disorder, we still don't know what's behind it. Bees themselves were virtually extinct, so what our ADIs do is effectively stand in for them.
So this begins with the utopian part. We're fixing a problem in nature by applying AI and robotics to build bees that do the job of pollinators.
How do they know where the flowers even are?
Just a basic visual sensor. You see, they need rudimentary pattern recognition in order to locate compatible flora and navigate. We simply set the behavior and lead them to it.
Here there's a bit of foreboding going on, right? That we don't really control what these systems do. There's a number of research groups around the world that have already managed to build fly-sized robots with flapping wings. Systems we have now, small quadcopters, for example, are able to navigate. They can fly into a building, fly around the building, build an internal map of that building, and use the map to navigate. They can locate objects matching any given specification. So a lot of what they're talking about here is either already feasible or is in the works.
We just lost the whole hive.
What does that mean?
We've got the whole thing. We're not in control anymore.
So it turns out that the bees have been hacked. The control systems have been hacked, and they've been directed to kill. Depicts in a way this notion of AI systems pursuing a fixed objective in a completely remorseless.
No. And I knew he was going here, and like I've seen that episode twice, and like it's very clear even from the clip that he watched. What's the problem? The problem that is that the bees were hacked. The system was functioning. It's the people. The people are at issue here. It's not the system. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that the AI just decided to go off at the rails and start killing people. It's that somebody in particular had a back door that was built in the system. The security that was done, the IT security that was done, was woefully inadequate. And it was the British government's the way that they went about interacting with the system that is ultimately the problem. Like that they created that issue. It's
this way, and there's often very little you can do to stop a sufficiently capable system from carrying out the objective that it's been given.
They've hoovered up their ID from GCHQ by the looks of it. That backdoor worked both ways, it seems.
See if I'm on this.
Yeah, you're there.
What if those are his real targets?
So they found out that whoever took over the bees has a particular target in mind, this list of 387,000 people, find them based on their cell phones or other kinds of tracking devices, and kill them. We don't need to see in all the gory detail what happens. In terms of realism, I think this is a very realistic depiction of technology that is under development already. Clearly, they've moved the physical part of the technology further because the bees have a lot of flight endurance, and they seem to have quite a lot of onboard computing, which also requires a lot of battery right now. Again, it's a warning that creating autonomous weapons doesn't end well. I would give this a 9 out of 10. I think my favorite out of all the clips.
I mean, yeah, creating autonomous weapons doesn't end well, but like, you're skipping over all the different things where the humans fucking did stuff that was a problem. Like the whole part about what the British government did as part of their surveillance state is a very important element that you just glossed right the fuck over, bro.
Is the Wall-E clip. Sort of needles at aspects of current
I am
life,
sure.
Right, the sort of the cruise ship utopia, the commercial brainwashing. I think it carries a really important message. And it's funny. Thanks for watching. You can get my book, Human Compatible, in paperback, ebook, and audio by clicking on the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to Penguin for more videos like this.
The Pentagon is moving towards letting AI weapons.
Okay, speaking of, let's go right into it. This is independent thought. Should artificial intelligence be allowed to kill humans autonomously? This is not how you use an asterisk, right? Yeah, I'm 100% old lobster. Like, you use an asterisk in this way to replace one of the letters, so you wanted to drop the I so that people understood that this word was kill. But
weapons autonomously decide to kill humans. Now, this just might be my nightmare coming true, like in real time here. So you'll have to bear with me as we go through this story here today. But the U.S. is among countries arguing against new laws to regulate AI-controlled killer drones. The U.S., China, and others are developing so-called killer robots. Critics are concerned about the development of these machines that can decide to take human lives. Now, these lethal autonomous weapons that can select using AI are being developed by countries including the US, China, and Israel. And these killer robots.
Not to detract from, like, this is a very serious subject. We covered it before. We just talked about it. But like from a videography standpoint, why is his microphone in the shot, or their microphone in the shot? Like, why? Like, the reason that this mic is right here is because my gate is up high, so that you don't pick up the sound of the fan on the computer or any other sounds that might exist outside of this space. It doesn't come across on the mic. If you're going to move the microphone that far away from you, why don't you move it out of the shot? That is my question.
Would mark a disturbing development, some critics say, about handling life and death decisions on the battlefield. Now, to discuss this,
there is Goyo, but they recently started charging for it. The free version is over. So
with me today is Chuck Cora, the co-host of the podcast Appalachia. Chuck, how are you doing today? Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Doing great, despite thinking about our doom scenario here, our impending doom at the hands of our own government. But yeah.
And I mean, since he's laughing, I'm gonna remark on this camera. Like, what is this? Like, I can see the pixels, bro. Like, this is a Logitech C920. It's not that expensive, and it does a decent job of not looking like this. What is going on here?
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I mean, this, I was saying at the top here, and I'm going to get into this way more as we go on in this conversation here. This just might be like my number one fear when it comes to how will the world end. This one's kind of teetering on it, but before we dive into any of it, let me just kind of like give a little bit more like background information, and then we're going to just dive right into it.
We're going to be serious now.
So several governments are lobbying the UN for a binding resolution restricting the use of these AI killer drones. But the US is among a group of nations, including Russia, Australia, and Israel, who are resisting any such move, favoring a non-binding resolution. Now, Alexander Komet, the Austrian's chief negotiator on the issue, said that this is one of the most significant inflection points for our humanity. He said, what's the role of human beings in the use of force? It's an absolutely fundamental security issue, a legal issue, and an ethical issue. Now, Chuck, when we were talking before we ended up, getting on the air here, and I was asking you, like, what was your first reaction to when you heard this story? So could you just tell everyone a little bit more, like, what exactly was your first reaction when you came across this story?
Yeah. So I think that artificial intelligence in general is a terrifying concept of just because of how dangerous it can be. So imagine that with the world's deadliest weapons. It's horrifying. And the fact that there are countries such as ours that are lobbying against some of these regulatory protections, to me is absurd. It's insane. And we have enough problems in this country with indiscriminately bombing places. And that's just with humans being the operators, even drones. We have enough problems with drones. So think about this in terms of what are quite
lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile. We are.
Yo! What up, main captain? What up, quiet one? What up, T minus? What up, Jenny Burns? What up, Ellie? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. What up, Farflight? What up, Cauldron of Bats? How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? James has showed up at the perfect time. We are watching a video. Oh, I'm Globus the Elder. y'all probably know me, but I talk about AI, robots, automation, that kind of stuff. What up, Kinky McMuffins? We're watching a video on, should artificial intelligence be allowed to kill humans? What up, Jamie? Autonomously. So it's just the kind of doomer stuff that you love.
Literally sociopathic machines that have none of the
Thank you. Who was that? Forsaken Menu. I hit 600 followers, and I was going to do a 600 follower kind of like celebration thing, and then either somebody doesn't love me anymore, or the Twitch algorithm made someone unfollow me, which that happens, on Twitch. So you get to be my 600th follower. Yes, it's 600 now. We did it. Forsaken Menu. You did it. We did it, chat. We did it. That's 600 followers. That's a milestone. What up, Text Delete Overlord? There's also, I made new subscriber badges.
And apparel here are huge.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the follow. I made new subscriber badges. I don't know that they look good in miniature. But I don't know. I might change them again. I thought they looked kind of cool, but they don't look good tiny. What are you going to do? It's a process. So, I'm big time. I got 600 followers. We did it. All right. Back to the doomerism.
The shortcomings and imperfections of a human being. And this can take the form, it's not even just robots, it could just be missiles that are AI controlled missiles. I mean, what's even the rationale?
Like
what
new toy.
Hey,
And
82?
Exactly who we are.
Old Lobster, you are like, bruh. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Goddamn.
what's the guidance that they use to
Yeah, I saw the in Levelheads chat. You were doing stuff with like AI commands or something. If AI command in Stream Elements now, that's yeah. I'm gonna look into that because I got Stream Elements on this bad boy.
justify firing a weapon, killing someone. All these questions just start floating through my head, and it just makes me think that and I'm gonna sound like a curmudgeon when I say this, I don't care. AI is accelerating at such a fast pace, we cannot keep up with it. And that's been the case for almost all of technology since the 90s, the internet, everything. It's terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was saying in the beginning, like this is my number one issue that's kind of like got me the most afraid about like how the world might end. If you've been following me for a little while here, you've probably heard me talking about my fears of things like,
Also, there are currently 69 viewers. It's a hell of a day. Merry fucking Christmas.
Growing up in the 90s, as a kid, watching movies like, The Terminator or The Matrix, I've always thought that of all the potential doomsday scenarios, this one felt the most plausible. And we are speeding so fast into this AI revolution that no one's really stopping to do two things.
Smash?
One, asking if all of the convenience that's going to come with the advancements of artificial intelligence, are we thinking about all of the potential conflicts that might come with it, all of the breaches of privacy? I mean, will these machines be able to be controlled if they become sentient? I mean, what does sentience even really mean? But, also, are we really prepared?
Every Friday we do movie night. So if anybody wants to join the Discord and then get the role from the movie night channel, then I send out a thing. I'm not certain what movie we're watching this week. Next week we're going to be watching The Creator. If you're aware of that movie at all. All the movies we watch are like AI related. What we watched? I Am Mother. That was on Netflix. We watched last week. We watched Ghost in the Shell. So as long as it's like AI related or something like that, then that's what we watch. Thank you, Jamie.
Prepared for a world in which all of the weapons that we have in our world are going to be underneath the control of essentially another entity, again, that we might not have full control over. I mean, if you're letting a machine make a decision about whether or not to kill someone without any pre-authorization, I mean, that is terrifying. Now some people might think to themselves like, well, that's just going to be used in war, and like that's a separate conversation, which I also think is, there's a lot of like ethical lines being blurred there, but there's nothing to say that these things won't be deployed domestically as well. Chuck, what do you think?
Oh, I completely agree. It's funny you said prior authorization. It just makes me think, we have more safeguards to somebody getting health insurance approval on a procedure than we do bombing people, apparently, when it comes to something like this. There's this concept, this hypothetical situation called technological singularity, and it's basically refers to the point at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable or irreversible. And that's talked about a lot with.
That's not what it means. What it is, the singularity is the point where technology reaches a point where we can't even predict what's on the other side of it. Same thing as a singularity in space, like a black hole. The black hole is surrounded by, like a line of demarcation. Basically, on this side, everything functions as normal, and on that side, like light can't escape, matter doesn't escape, except with Hawking radiation and things like that. But like, that's what the singularity means. It's on the other side of this thing. We can't predict what's going to happen because technology reaches a self-recursive point where it just improves itself. This is the goal of like the AGI, the ASI, this self-improving artificial intelligence that like will exceed our capacity to even understand what it's doing. That is a powerful cat.
AI, and there's some theories that we could reach that by like 2030 or 2045. And that's terrifying. So when it comes to something like this, there are no ethical guidelines yet. There's no ethical guidelines with most things about technology, and that's a huge failure.
You're going to stop with most things. There aren't ethical guidelines with most things. Like that is, we live in a world that like ethical guidelines are super subjective and tend to be based mostly around power structures.
From a policy and just a huge failure from a moral end. And I don't think there's enough concern around AI in general, but especially when it comes to weapons. And I always think about this in terms of like, let's just think about it in the context of war and culpability. For example, let's say that we've got AI missiles and robots that are leading the front lines of wars. You have some sociopathic lunatic like Benjamin Netanyahu, for example, who uses that to bomb and kill more innocent Palestinians. And now he takes his hands up and says, oh, I'm not culpable for this. We didn't tell them to do this. This is Raytheon's fault, or this is someone else's fault. We never would have authorized this. So not only do you have this death and killing, you have a culpability problem. This could cause another global war easily. This all like.
So, like, again, there are so many things to actually be concerned about that fabricating things because you don't actually understand what you're talking about is a problem. It's especially a problem that I have. Like this culpability thing, it already doesn't exist, right? Most of you, especially those who hang out in James's chat, you understand that like presidents, U.S. presidents, are war criminals, right? Like because they have engaged in practices that have killed innocent people and a variety of other, things like that. They are not subject to those rules, and they are not subject to those rules because of power structures. So like this idea that AI is going to make it so that people can claim a lack of responsibility, like the AI has nothing to do with that. We already live in that world where there is no responsibility if you have enough levels of abstraction from being held accountable, right? It's accountability. Like the UN can do whatever it wants, but as long as like the US and Russia and China, I think, is another one. I'm not 100%. I know the US and Russia. They have the veto power. As long as you have the veto power, then it doesn't matter, right? It's all meaningless. Ethics and responsibility and culpability, all these things exist in your relationship to how much you can be held accountable for your actions. If you can't be held accountable for your actions, then it doesn't fucking matter. That's what I thought. Thank you, T minus. So like, AI is not going to create that. We live in this world now. AI, something mirror, old lobster.
Every type of doomsday scenario comes to mind with this. And the wild part is none of that is far-fetched because we have seen just how much AI has progressed in just the past 5 years. Take that 10 years down the road now, and that's going to be times probably 1,000.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It is horrifyingly nuts. And in the hands of the worst people, this will be deadly to more than just people that are targets of war.
Right. And I know that in some sense, the move towards, more automation, the move towards AI is inevitable. And I don't think that conversations like the one that we're having today are going to stop it from happening. But I think we need to slow this thing down dramatically and discuss what needs to be put into place in order to keep people.
And like this, that sounds great, right? Like, let's slow it down. Who remembers from earlier this year the AI pause letter that went absolutely nowhere, right? Like this is like by the time you organized enough people to actually do something, and there's other stuff happening. Ask someone if they're going to protest about what is happening in Gaza or if they're going to protest to slow down AI. And they're like, they have both the capacity and will to go to protests. What are they going to pick? You're not wrong, Nemesis.
Safe in order to make sure that this technology isn't going to be abused, to make sure that, it's not going to have an abundance of human rights, to say.
And again, who's going to do that? Who's going to enforce that? Who can enforce that? It would be the federal government, right? are absolutely dysfunctional. The power, the party in power in the House took like 3-4 weeks to elect a new leader, and like and they're like, they don't even guarantee funding for the government past January. Like, we lack the agility to act on this. Even if they wanted to. Did you work hard on that, Boglis? Even if they wanted to, and that it's not entirely certain that they do want to enact regulations around AI, our government is so dysfunctional at this point, they couldn't do it if they wanted to. They can't pass anything. Except for, like, you know, a Pentagon spending bill. They are okay. Do you know me? I don't care, devil.
Errors being made, because some people will think that, oh, well, it's a machine doing this, so there's probably going to be less errors made than a human would. Not necessarily. It depends on how it's programmed to an extent, right? So I mean, you can't just assume that things are going to work out the way we want them to once we essentially give over the control to something else. I mean, how was that thing programmed to begin with? But another thing that I came across when I was first seeing this story that really gave me pause was something that was mentioned by the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks. She said that AI technology like this, these drones,
you're not wrong,
enable the U.S. to offset the China's People Liberation Army, their numerical advantage in weapons and people. She said, we'll counter the PLA's mass with mass of our own, but ours will be harder to plan for, harder to hit, harder to beat. Now, Chuck, this really, like, set off the giant red flags for me, because that sounds like someone who's preparing for war with the second biggest country on
it. I mean, it's saber rattling, right? It is highly unlikely that the United States has any desire in any capacity, no matter what you hear, to go to war with China. They're our number one trading partner. The United States gets a huge amount of its material goods from China. Like, this is just flexing and saber rattling and bullshit like that. Also, China is working on its own AI weapons program. Like, this does not exist in a vacuum. Anyone with the capacity to work on an AI weapons program is working on an AI weapons program. Right? So I'm not saying USA good. I'm saying everybody bad. All governments are, all states are bastards. All of them. The only way to get rid of these autonomous weapons is for everyone to stop with a competition mindset and work on a cooperation mindset. We are so far from that. Like, if they could do it in video games, I'm down, Jamie. Like, we're gonna compete in StarCraft, right? Just teams of Fortnite playing each other to win wars
on Earth. Now, I know that there's been a lot of tensions rising up with China, but I never thought that we would actually consider a war with China. But, and I'm not saying that that's what the secretary is saying here, but it kind of sounds like that's what the secretary is saying. Am I getting a little off here by being worried about those comments?
No, I don't think it's unreasonable to be worried. There's so many flaws in that argument. The first and probably biggest one being, if you don't think that China is going to get their hands on the same technology and just do the exact same thing, like,
They have the same technology. They're doing the exact same thing. Number one in AI research. What up, Neuralicia? Happy Friday. You came in at an interesting time for Happy Friday, but here we are. Number one in AI research is the United States. Number two is China. Across the board, right? Like that's how this works. That's how the current system, as it currently exists, is how it all works. We have to change. That's good. We have to change the way all of the things are working. How do you do that? Where do you stand and where do you put your lever in order to change how everyone is working?
You are insane. You don't need a military background to understand that. And that being the biggest justification, we need more bodies, more capacity than China. That's a stupid fucking justification for taking something that could become uncontrollable, a killing machine technology that could become uncontrollable, and proliferating that for the sake of what if. That's bad. And it comes.
Wow. Absolutely stunning insight. We're going to file this video. We're going to continue to watch it, I guess, but we're going to file this video in the category of everyone has to do AI content, because that's where we're at. We've actually been there for like at least the past 6 months. Everyone has to do an episode about AI. Everyone has to, include AI in some capacity because it's the thing, right? Like, but I'm the only one who does it every episode. And that's why you should follow. And if you can, subscribe. We're really close to hitting our goal. Where are we at? Oh shit, we're not really close to hitting our goal. It was 58 when I came in. We're down to 44. So if you want to support the channel, it's Christmas. Ooh, that always hurts.
Back to this dilemma of like, we need to slow things down. And for fear of giving him too much credit, and I'm going to say that I don't know where he stands on this now, but at one point, Elon Musk was raising the issue that we need to put the brakes on AI.
Yeah.
And slow things down. And
how fucking dare you, right? Like, I don't know where he stands on this now. Well, maybe you should learn before you open your goddamn mouth, because that guy has an AI company, bro.
He was called a speciesist for this. A speciesist, someone who values one species over the other, which, okay, like I'm biased towards the human race at this point. If it comes down. Yeah, this is the type of conversations that are happening in a Silicon Valley like circle where these people are so disconnected from reality when we're talking about weapons that will make their own decision with who they decide to go after. And we're debating, you're biased over the human race versus others. It's ridiculous. I know I'm like going down a rabbit hole, but this is a rabbit hole of problems.
Yeah, I'm not going to get involved in that. It requires an incredible amount of nuance to discuss the idea of like what was actually being discussed before Elon then went on Tucker Carlson. Excuse me. Well, before Elon went on Tucker Carlson and, dropped that speciesist comment. So, like, that's where this guy got that whole thing from, is that he watched that episode of Tucker Carlson featuring Elon Musk, and that's where he's drawing his conclusions from, which was months ago. And again, Elon has his own company making AI, right? Like, XAI is a thing that exists, and the whole the whole pause letter, I said it at the time, and I'm confident that like my conclusion was proven. That pause letter was Elon trying to get the government to act on his behalf to slow down the competition, and specifically OpenAI, because specifically he wanted to run OpenAI and they said no, and so he took his funding and left, and the rest is history.
And honestly, like, we have failed to regulate properly technology as it stands, like the internet, for example.
100%.
Just any type, the internet of things. We have lawmakers that barely know how Gmail works. So now we have this whole plethora of bigger problems with AI, and we need people who are crafting real, honest, hard-hitting, and thorough policies that are going to regulate this kind of thing and make sure that
OpenAI, the CEO, Sam Altman, is still there, and one of the, I actually have that here. Adam D'Angelo is still there. Those are the two people who were previously on the board, and Ilya Sutskever still with the company, off the board, and Brockman is off the board. And then there's a couple other people who are completely gone, replaced with Brett Taylor and Larry Summers. Larry Summers, who's like an absolute ghoul of a human being and needs to be like not on this board. But here we are.
technological singularity doesn't.
No, I wouldn't. Like, they are still on their own independent entity. They're not Microsoft. They still maintain a certain level of autonomy from Microsoft. Microsoft is just knows how to market products. So you can look at Microsoft as the main vendor for the products created by OpenAI because they're very good at that kind of thing. So that creates a certain amount of political leverage within OpenAI. Is that if they want to make money, then they're going to make the products that Microsoft thinks that it can market to its users and that kind of thing. Theoretically, Sam Altman is still driven to create AGI and like get us to a post-work economy. We'll have to see how well he does with that project.
Happen.
Yeah.
And I don't see any real meaningful effort of that happening. And honestly, call me crazy, but I don't have a lot of faith in Congress to be doing anything. So, yeah.
Well, as time and time again, we have seen, it's, Congress just seems to do the bidding of whatever the highest bidder asks.
And so this is what I always wonder with things like this. Like, I made these points about Congress being like dysfunctional, like what, 5 minutes ago in this video. And it's like, I understand the idea of developing awareness because awareness is important. If you don't know these problems exist, and you can't do anything about them. But like, what is the goal of the individuals who are creating this content if within their own video they're like, here's the thing and we're afraid of it and no one's going to do anything about it, then what like, you're engaging with the same fear-based enragement engagement algorithm that like people that you would decry are doing. So like, what are you doing? What are you actually, what's your goal? That is my question that I will never get answered, but here we are.
Ask them to do, as we have essentially, back in the 70s, we have legalized bribery in America in the form of what we refer to as campaign contributions. So it is it's hard to imagine that they would do something unless they had intense pressure from the public, which is, and honestly, is like what I hope that would come if enough people were to learn about what exactly is happening here. And going back to your comment about Elon Musk, like, yeah, we've seen Elon have a million bad takes over the last few years here. So it's hard to be like, hey, there's this one time where Elon said something really smart, but if he's right, he's right, and he was right about that. He was absolutely
clock,
right
man.
about that. Yeah, bro.
Again, if you actually take the time to look into it, he wasn't right about that, right? It was a piece of propaganda that he ran in order to achieve material gain, right? Like,
clock. But yeah, I think the overall takeaway that I have here is that if we're talking about weapons, like just in general, there's a giant conversation in our country almost every few months about assault rifles in America and about whether or not people should have access to them. That conversation is cyclical in America. It's honestly, it's a very similar conversation.
Right. Like, literally nothing has been done. Anything that has been done has sunsetted. So, like, what's going to happen? What do you...
Conversation to a degree. It is what exactly are weapons that should be allowed to be just floating around in our country, in our world? And, like, do they have a place? Like, is having them out there like worth the freedoms that we're giving up? I mean, it's in my mind, I'm not opposed to these things existing. It's just a matter of how they exist. How are they being implemented? How are they, like, what kind of like safety regulations are being put into place? Do we have guarantees that that if something faulty were to happen, that we'd be able to catch it before there are going to be too many lives lost? That there has to be, I think, just like layers and layers and layers of protocols, security, just double checking, like, before these things were to ever hit the streets and to be just out flying around among us. Because if they're just thrown out there all haphazardly, and a bunch of people, lose their lives, and then everyone just throws up their hands and says, "Oh, it wasn't our fault." Well, that's the scenario that I really just want to avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. You do get into a tricky scenario of there's going to be at least one country that's going to do this.
Yeah.
Russia's probably a pretty safe bet. If North Korea could get their hands on it, if Kim Jong Il or whichever one he is gets his hands on it, you bet your ass he's going to be doing something like this. So there's this challenge of, yes, we want to make sure that we can combat those threats, but boy, this is another one of those mutually assured destruction type arguments where there really does have to be some global safeguards in place. And I don't know what that looks like, truthfully, because we don't know what the technology is going to look like here in 5-10 years. And even if there's I don't know what you could do. Is there a way to put a safety valve on some of this, an off switch, something like that? I mean, it's just, it's terrifying. And I think to your point earlier about Congress and the highest bidder, the thing that also gives me a little bit of pessimism, I'm sorry, folks listening, about this is that some of the biggest campaign donors and some of the most successful lobbying operations are with the defense contracting industry. I mean, look, the Department of Defense is headed by Lloyd Austin, who used to sit on the board of Raytheon, one of the largest defense conglomerates in the world.
Yeah.
You have interests that are not looking out for the best of us, and all these companies are celebrating high returns right now because of the slaughter going on in Israel. So if they're able to line their pockets more, you bet your ass they're going to do it. So that's another concern, and I think that's why you mentioned the public needing to be outraged about this is one of the only ways that we're going to see any change on it. And people in the tech sectors that are developing this type of technology, there needs to be something happening within that sector where there's some self-regulation.
Absolutely. And this is a conversation.
I want something magical to like happen, because it'd be cool if it did. That'd be great.
That as the years go on, I mean, we're going to be having so many more conversations about artificial intelligence, how it's getting rolled out, what it's getting rolled out to do. And I personally will be coming back again and again and again to amongst many things, just data privacy, something that we do not have in this country that we definitely need more of. But as far as today is concerned, Chuck, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about all this with everyone. For those who are interested, where can they find you online?
Yeah, you can search Apodlacha, Appodlachia, on any social media platform pretty much, and you'll find us there. And then my personal accounts will be linked on there as well. And then check us out, apodlacha.com.
Perfect. For those who are interested, those links will be in the episode description. I want to thank Chuck for coming on and having this conversation with me that always kind of gets me a little worked up because of the subject matter. For those who have any comments, like, did we get something wrong here? Like, do you have maybe some different angles that you can think of that we maybe didn't discuss? Go ahead and drop some comments in the comments section.
Yeah, if you could drop some comments in the comments section and like boost this in the algorithm, that would be great.
And we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if you go look at my highlights, I did an entire episode about autonomous weapons that I think was way more comprehensive and like actually, showed you a bunch of the stuff that they're talking about, other than the usual like hand waving and basically complaining without any kind of like solutions that are going to do anything. Just the hope that someone else will fix this problem is what we're at.
Thank you for watching this video.
Yeah. Okay. Hopium time. 2023 AI year in review from Matt Wolf. This will probably be the wrap on today's episode. However long this takes, then we'll raid out, and then we'll be doing movie night in the Discord shortly thereafter. So yeah, let's get at it.
So can you believe it? 2023 is almost over. And for the entire year, I've done my best to keep my finger on the pulse of all the latest AI news and tools, and then turn around and make videos and share what's been going on with you. I thought, since we're at the end of the year, it would be fun to make a recap of all of the most major moments in the world of AI.
Sorry, actually, before we get into this, because your boy actually hydrates, your boy needs to step away for a moment, and I'm not going to run Matt's video while I'm not here, so I'll be right back. Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day, with eyes that know the darkness in my soul, shadows on the hills. Sketch the trees and the daffodils, catch the breeze and the winter chills, in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry, starry night, flaming flowers that brightly blaze, swirling clouds in violet haze, reflect in Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber grain, weathered faces lined in pain, are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you try to say to me, to how you suffer. And we're back. For those of you who came over on the James raid or wandered in from elsewhere, that was not me singing. That was creation by Pillar of the Community, Old Lobster, who took my voice, made a model, and made an AI cover of Don McLean's Vincent in my voice, and it turned out really, really good, and I love it. I love that song. Yeah, back to the video.
AI throughout the entire year. Now, there was literally hundreds, if not thousands, of announcements in the AI world for the entire year, so I can't break them all down. And I know there's going to be comments about, hey, you forgot to mention this, or you forgot that tool, or this announcement, and there's going to be some stuff that I missed. But if you look at my tabs across the top of my Chrome here, I've narrowed it down to roughly 45 big announcements from throughout 2023. I also don't want this video to be an hour long, so I'm going to rapid fire break down the year for you. Keep in mind,
and this, I think, especially for those of you who don't watch this show a lot, it'll give you an idea of how quickly the technology has developed, and where we were when we started, where we are now, how we're going to be going into 2024. 2024 is going to be a big year for AI. Yeah.
That pretty much every single event that I'm going to talk about at some point in this channel's history, I made a video where I deep dived into that specific topic. Let's go ahead and talk about what happened in 2023, starting with January. In January, Microsoft invested $10 billion into OpenAI, kicking off what seems to be one of the most brilliant moves from Microsoft, because since then they've been able to put all of OpenAI's tech into their products. January also saw the launch of the 11 Labs beta, giving us the first pretty good text-to-speech we've heard. Up until 11 Labs, all of the text-to-speech sounded really robotic and wasn't fooling anybody. After 11 Labs, people started having a hard time telling whether or not a voice was generated with AI. So much so that a whole bunch of scams and fake audio has started to come out because of technology like what 11 Labs released. In the AI art world, in January, we saw Instruct Pix2Pix. This was released as open source and was really the first time we were able to do image editing with AI. Up until this, we were able to generate images with things like DALL-E and Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, but once this was released, we were able to take the images we generated and change them. Swap sunflowers with roses, add fireworks to the sky, make his jacket out of leather. What would it look like if it were snowing? This was a huge advancement in the AI art world. Moving into February, this is when Google started to get serious about trying to keep up with OpenAI and Microsoft, announcing the release of Google Bard. When Bard was released, it was exciting to see Google getting into the chatbot game along with OpenAI, but it still left a lot to be desired. Pretty much everybody that was out there experimenting with Bard was pretty unimpressed with what it could do, because what we had to compare it to was ChatGPT, which at that point had become the gold standard in AI chatbots. Literally the day after Google announced Bard, Microsoft said, we're now doing Bing Chat. And not only was Bing Chat starting to roll out almost immediately because of Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI, it was using the GPT technology underneath.
Yeah, 100% Nemesis. Like the integration, the narrow model as a concept, fine tuning, that kind of stuff, like, and the UI. Like, I always harp on, a good UI means that it's going to be adopted by your average person, and that's ultimately what you want.
And we would come to find out later that it was actually already using GPT-4 before we even got access to GPT-4 inside of ChatGPT. In the AI art world, February was the month where we got ControlNets. ControlNet was a huge leap forward in AI art because it now allowed us to put our AI generated images into custom poses and positions.
And if I'm jumping the gun a bit on this, then sorry, Matt, but you see this wireframe here where you can do that? We are now at the point where you can make this wireframe dance, and this image will dance along with it. Like, that's where we've gotten from this in February to today.
Put our AI generated images into custom poses and positions. We were able to upload an input image and generate new images that followed the exact same pose of the original image that we uploaded. It also gave us the ability to scribble images and get more realistic output images, as well as turn existing images into depth maps and then use those depth maps for our output image. Again, this...
Oh, and speaking of the depth map, I don't have a link for it, but I saw, I think it was on Twitter, an even more accurate, like, depth map, like, where it's really good. Again, 2024 is going to be crazy for AI, and using those depth maps, you can take a still image and create assets for other purposes. I'm still in the camp that I believe that all these AI art tools are going to allow indie creators to create. I see what you did there. To create indie gaming, right? Like, we are going all the way back to, what was it? On the 360, I think the 360 had a healthy indie game ecosystem. I think you're going to get another one of those in 2024, maybe 2025 at the latest.
Up-leveled the customizability of our AI art images. Moving into March. March was probably the biggest year for AI in all of 2023. This is when it was just announcement after announcement. During this time, I was doing my best to try to keep up, and I was putting out news videos almost every single day because the announcements just kept on rolling. And it started with one of the biggest advancements in the world of large language models, the release of GPT-4. GPT-4 was a huge leap.
Does it? I gotta look into that. I don't know. I've got AI War. I gotta check out Galactic Civilization. It's been on my radar for some time.
Over what we were getting with the previous GPT 3.5. And the demo that Greg Brockman gave when they made the announcement blew everybody's mind, especially when he showed this off.
So I have here a nice hand-drawn mock-up of a joke website. Literally take a photo of this mock-up. And so we can actually take now this output, and here we go. Actual working JavaScript, filled in the jokes. For comparison, this was the original of our mock-up.
And at the time, we hadn't seen anything like that yet. Now, I did speed up that video to cut out some of the delay between him showing us the photo and us actually getting the output, but just what it can do was so much more advanced than what we were able to do with GPT 3.5 before that. March was also the month that we got Midjourney version 5, which was a huge leap in realism from our AI photos. We went from our AI generated images looking something like this to now all of a sudden looking like this, or like this. The realism just took a huge leap with version 5. You may even remember a lot of people on the internet getting fooled by this image that was created with Midjourney version 5. It was also March when we got Model Scope, which up until that point was the absolute best text to video we've seen. Now anybody could go and enter a prompt like an astronaut riding a horse and get a 2-second clip that kinda looked like an astronaut riding a horse, or kinda looks like Spider-Man surfing. But it was obviously trained on Shutterstock content, and every single video had this Shutterstock watermark on it. But it also led us to some pretty amazing memes, like this now pretty iconic meme of Will Smith just perpetually eating various spaghetti.
And this nightmare fuel that used to exist compared to where AI generated video is now, it looks nothing like this. there, depending on what you're using and like how dynamic it is, there is still a certain amount of the blurring and blending and stuff like that. But like, we are so far beyond this. And again, this was March. This was 9 months ago.
Getty. March was also the month that Adobe entered the game with Adobe Firefly, where we could now generate AI art images from Adobe's platform. Now, did it really have a big leap in improvement over what we were getting over Stable Diffusion or Midjourney? Not yet. But when Adobe starts rolling out Firefly into their suite of tools like Photoshop, Illustrator, and Premiere and things like that, that's when Firefly really starts to get exciting. March was also the month where OpenAI announced that ChatGPT would be getting plugins extending the capabilities of what ChatGPT can do. And at launch, we got plugins like Expedia, Fiscal Note, Instacart, Kayak, OpenTable, Shop, Klarna, Wolfram, Zapier, and more. And the demo made these ChatGPT plugins look pretty exciting, like this demo where somebody was looking to eat vegan food in San Francisco and wanted a suggestion for a good restaurant, and then they used OpenTable to book a table. They even got recipes, and it did all sorts of stuff with just a single prompt. Plugins were really, really cool when they first came out, but later sort of got overtaken by GPTs, which I'll talk about later in the video. March was also when we got Runway's Gen 1. If you don't remember Gen 1 was a tool that allowed us to upload an existing video and then completely change the style on that video to a style of a reference image or the style of a prompt that we gave it. It was a pretty big leap for the world of AI video generation. You're able to pretty much take any other video and convert it to any style that you can imagine. And all of that happened in just March of 2023. On to April. April feels like the month that Meta really started to get into the game, starting with Segment Anything, where you could upload images and have it segment out every aspect of that image so that you can edit and move things around and delete things. And it was a really powerful tool that could be implemented in both images and videos. April was also the month we got Wonder Dynamics and Wonder Studio. This was a tool, when I first saw a demo of it, I actually didn't believe it. I thought it was too good to be true. It was a tool where you can upload a video of a real human and then swap out that human with a computer generated character. And it seemed to work really, really well. AI video took another huge leap with Wonder Dynamics, and it was backed by people like Steven Spielberg and Joe Russo of the Russo brothers. And one of the co-founders, Ty Sheridan, the main character from Ready Player One. April was also the month we started to see these new autonomous AI chatbots, things like Baby AGI and AutoGPT. These were tools where you can give it an end goal, and then it would keep on generating its own prompts over and over and over again until it finally got to the point where it achieved the end goal that you saw. These were huge back in April and May of 2023, but seemingly kind of faded away, and we haven't really heard about them more since. But I do think in 2024, we're going to see this kind of technology pop up once again, because it really showed some promise, but the early versions didn't really have a lot of use cases that were very practical or useful yet. Shifting into May, at the very beginning of the month, the announcement came out that Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, left his position at Google because he wanted to warn people of the dangers of AI. Now, if you're not familiar with Geoffrey Hinton, he actually won the Turing Award with Yann LeCun and Yoshua Bengio for his contributions in the world of AI. Almost everybody that's working on AI today traces their lineage back in some way to Geoffrey Hinton, who was really one of the founding fathers of what we currently know as AI. So him leaving Google because he thought AI was getting too scary was a big deal. But
to clarify, he wanted to talk about it and felt that him staying at Google was a conflict of interest, right? Like, he didn't leave because the AI was getting scary. He left because he wanted to talk about what the AI was doing and felt like him staying at that company was a conflict of interest. It's a subtle difference, but it's important.
But speaking of Google, May was also the month that Google announced they're putting AI into everything. Google Sheets, Gmail, Google search engine, Google phones, you name it, Google was going to put AI inside of it. In fact, so much so that when they did their Google I/O event, the headline on CNET was Google said AI over 140 times in its 2-hour Google keynote. May was also the month where we got the Senate hearing with Sam Altman and Gary Marcus and others, where they basically pushed for the Senate to actually regulate AI. In May,
7 months. 7 months, the opportunity to do something, we have one executive order.
we saw OpenAI release Shape-E, which was a text-to-3D model generator. We were able to generate 3D images from a prompt, like a penguin or a voxelized dog or a traffic cone. The 3D images left quite a bit to be desired, but this technology eventually led to the types of things we get today from tools like Genie by Luma AI, where we're now getting 3D objects like this, and like these, and like these ones here. It has come a long way since we first started playing around.
And I'm surprised it took this long, but I just saw a thing that we now also have text to CAD. So that's cool.
With Shape-E back in May. It was also May when Adobe made one of their largest contributions to the AI art world in its new generative fill tool inside of Photoshop. This was mind-blowing. We were able to trace areas inside of Photoshop and have generative fill change those areas just by typing a text prompt. This absolutely changed the game for everybody that used Photoshop, because now we can just do so much more and really dial in any image we want. When it comes to my own AI art workflows, Adobe Generative Fill was just mind-blowing. It was so insane, and it gave so much more power to Adobe Photoshop. Moving on to June, things slowed down a little bit in the AI world. However, we did get the Apple Vision Pro announcement in June. Not really AI, but it does have some generative AI features that will be built into it. But one of the biggest things to come out of June was Runway's Gen 2. You remember Gen 1, you can upload a video and it would change the style on that video to the new style that you gave it. Now Gen 2 had the ability to enter a text prompt or an image prompt and generate a video from it. Now these videos were kind of similar to what we were getting out of ModelScope, but the quality seemed to have improved quite a bit, and we no longer had a Shutterstock watermark going across the videos. Here's an example of what people were getting out of Gen 2. Here's another video of somebody talking, a couple of horrifying looking cartoon videos, but again, it was a giant leap over what we were getting out of ModelScope. Moving on to July, we are now halfway through 2023, and July, things started to pick up a little bit of momentum again. ChatGPT rolled out Code Interpreter, which gave us all sorts of new abilities inside of ChatGPT. We were now able to upload PDF files and have it read those PDFs for us. We were able to upload spreadsheets and graphs and have it interpret those files for us and help us analyze them. It would even create graphs for us on things like where UFO sightings happened. They've since rebranded Code Interpreter to Data Analysis, but to this day, it's still in there and still one of ChatGPT's most powerful features. July also saw the rollout of Anthropic's Claude 2.
What up, Tweety Verde? Happy holidays, happy new year, happy merry, wonderful Christmas to everyone. I hope you're enjoying a fantastic, fun Friday. I am, anyways, Ferris is, and I hope to the same to you and yours.
This gave us a 100,000 token context window, meaning that between the amount of words we input into the bot and the amount of words we outputted from the bot, we were able to get about 75,000 words, which was the largest available model. We were able to now copy and paste large documents directly into Claude and have it summarize and give us bullet points and explain it like I'm 5. This was back in July, and since then, Claude has upped their context window to now 200,000 tokens. But when this came out in July, it caused a lot of people to jump ship from ChatGPT and start using Claude instead. To this day, I still use Claude just about as much as I use ChatGPT because I just find it better at summarizing documents, especially long documents that ChatGPT still can't handle. July was also the month we saw Llama 2. And not only did Microsoft and Meta team up to launch Llama 2,
he's going to talk about GPTs in a little bit. I recently set up a GPT. There's a zombie pencil and paper RPG called All Flesh Must Be Eaten, and I wanted to create a little AI that would help with character creation and rules questions. It's possible that All Flesh Must Be Eaten is, within the data set. It's not completely unknown, but it is a little niche. And so far, I'm going to be running it out to some people to get them to try and work with it. But so far, I'm really impressed by what it's capable of doing. I also had to add the action to where it would roll dice for you. And then it also provides you with the code that it used to roll the dice in Python. So, at least theoretically, without having done all my testing, it's a bot that you could use to run at least a single player RPG, like Nemesis was talking about earlier, with a text-based RPG. And because it has access to DALL-E, it could even take that one step further and provide you with images.
They launched it as free for research and commercial use. This was really the month that we started to see a ramp up of the open source large language models, because a lot of people started to iterate off of what Llama 2 had built. Later in the month, ChatGPT got another upgrade with custom instructions. We're now able to sort of pre-train our ChatGPT with additional information that we wanted it to have access to before we even type our first prompt. So I, for instance, gave it information about how I have a YouTube channel. I'm always looking for ideas for titles and thumbnails and video ideas and the sort of demographics of my YouTube channel. So now when I talk to ChatGPT, it has all of that information for additional context.
Yeah, I did the same thing, talk about my Twitch channel, and then also to skip the part about telling me that it's a large language model, because I don't need any of that information. I know what I'm dealing with, and that saves you on the token use, because there is a certain amount of throttling that exists, because it doesn't have the bandwidth for the amount of people who are using it. I hope the technology catches up quickly.
Before I even type my first prompt. And July was also the month the AI art world got Stable Diffusion XL 1.0. Prior to that, we had a Stable Diffusion XL 0.9, which wasn't really that great yet, but SDXL was a giant leap for our AI art generation. Now, it still wasn't quite as good as what we were getting out of Midjourney version 5, but Midjourney is very close. They don't share their data with anybody. It's censored, and there's a lot that they won't let you prompt with it. Stable Diffusion is open source. You can install it on your own computer, and you can even train your own models to use your own face or your own styles. And Stable Diffusion XL had huge quality improvements, but also had those additional abilities to them, because you can use this right inside of something like Automatic 1111 or the new Comfy UI. AI art was truly getting to a place where no matter which tool you were using for AI art, they were kind of all catching up with each other. And then we moved to August, and August was another really slow month for the world of AI. I mean, a lot of marginal improvements happened, but there wasn't anything really major. The one thing that came out of August that I think is worth talking about was that Midjourney introduced Very Region, which was their version of inpainting. We were now able to take an image like this chipmunk wearing a crown, select just the crown, and then have Midjourney generate new styles for the crown while leaving the chipmunk exactly the same. So very similar to the Instruct Pix-to-Pix in painting that we were getting earlier on, but now we also had it available to us directly inside of Midjourney. Moving on to September, ChatGPT got another big upgrade. This was the month where they announced that ChatGPT can now see, hear, and speak. We got the ability to speak directly to ChatGPT and have it listen, as well as get audio responses back from ChatGPT, and it was really good. We also got ChatGPT with vision, meaning that we can upload pictures and ask questions about the pictures inside of ChatGPT, like help me lower my bike seat. And then it looks at the image and it explains how to lower the bike seat. And then you could circle a piece of the image and re-upload it and ask again, is this the lever? ChatGPT would respond and give helpful information. In the demo, they also showed an image of a toolbox and asked what tool it should use. ChatGPT went on to explain exactly how to fix it from there. This opened up a whole new world of possibilities in ChatGPT. And this was just back in September. Moving on to October, we got DALL-E 3 from OpenAI, which to this day is the most prompt adherent AI image generator model. You can do really complex prompts like an image of a three-headed monster wearing fedoras and watching a TV with bears on. And it would actually figure out how to generate something with all of the elements in your prompt. With Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, you're likely to only get one or two of the things that you ask for. Still to this day. Not to mention that they rolled it out directly inside of ChatGPT. So when you generate an image, instead of having to give a whole new prompt, I can say, give them pink hats. And it knows that I'm referring to the image that it just created and then update the image for me. So not only was it super prompt adherent, it gave us a whole new way to generate images in a more conversational way. October also saw the release of text to vector inside of Adobe Illustrator. Now, to be fair, Adobe had a huge event where they announced all sorts of AI features, but in my opinion, the biggest announcement that was also made available right away was their text to vector. We were now able to prompt images directly inside of Adobe Illustrator, and instead of it being a flat image, it would generate it as an infinitely scalable vector that we can edit, change colors of certain elements, and do whatever we want to it. It was great for things like logo creation or creating multi-layered images that we can then later animate. And then we move on to November, and November started off with Elon Musk announcing Grok, which was his own large language model.
Remember Mr. Pause guy? When was the pause letter? So March. March was the pause letter. And in November, so what is that? That would be 8 months. 8 months. A good punctuation AI? What do you mean?
Which was trained on all of the available data on X or Twitter or whatever, and it would even update in real time, making it a great large language model to have discussions about current events in the moment. He also made it sort of goofy and silly and tell really bad dad jokes and roast people, but it's definitely an interesting model that I think will improve over time, or maybe just be seen as a giant joke to people. Who knows? We'll see how it all plays out. November was also when OpenAI.
Have you tried Claude? Like, I feel like with that, like, again, you can run into some issues when you get beyond 15,000 tokens, but like, if you were to copy and paste your whatever into the context window and then ask it to review it and add its limit is 200,000 tokens, the biggest one that there is. Again, 200,000 tokens or a token is about 0.75 words, so what, like 150,000 words.
I had their dev day where they announced GPTs. GPTs are sort of like these custom bots that you can train directly inside of ChatGPT that can be tailored towards specific niches.
And like again, you could always break it into sections. I'm not sure exactly what you're working on, but like, yeah, I mean, your use case may differ from my use case. So far, I have been having them be effective. I haven't completed the Globus GPT by any stretch of the imagination, but like again, I just talked about my zombie RPG GPT. Jesus Ferris. Could you chill?
Or specific end goals like creative writing coaches, tech advisors, Sticker Whiz, and Laundry Buddy. You can upload your own documents and give it your own custom instructions, and then you can even allow other people to use your custom GPT, and in the future even sell your own custom GPT in the upcoming GPT store from OpenAI, if it ever ends up happening. Alongside GPTs, OpenAI also rolled out assistants, which is pretty much the exact same thing as GPTs, just in the API form. You can develop your own assistant, give it functions, give it code interpreter ability, give it retrieval ability, upload your own files for it to reference, and then use what you created in your own separate software, or have conversations with it directly inside of OpenAI's playground. We also got another big announcement in the world of AI-generated video with Gen 2's Motion Brush. This allowed us to mask out certain areas of an image and only animate and edit the areas that we masked out. This made video editing much more powerful and much more customizable. November was also the month where we saw the rise of these latent consistency models and real-time image editing, like Leonardo's real-time canvas, where I can draw on this image on the left and watch as the image on the right updates in real time over there. Everything I add to this image, you'll see it update in real time as I scribble. This is happening as I'm drawing. We also saw similar tech released by Krea.ai, where as I draw on the left here, you'll see my image start to update on the right in real time with what I'm drawing into it. November also saw the event that rocked the AI world when Sam Altman was fired, then offered a job by Microsoft, and then subsequently, a couple days later, rehired on by OpenAI, and then OpenAI's entire board was booted and completely reconfigured. I made a ton of videos about that whole scenario and was almost breaking it down in real time, but that just happened in November. And when it comes to AI video, Runway couldn't get all of the love in November. Pika 1.0 was released in November, which brought us some amazing AI text to video that is better than anything we've seen to date. We were able to enter text prompts, get really, really good.
Yeah, and like this emote were the pictures were created in Midjourney, Old Lobster, or DALL-E, and then I uploaded them into Pika Labs, and had them animate DALL-E, and then had it animate them. So that's where we're at.
Videos, we got image to video that was really high quality.
Also, this one, but it's not as good. It kind of, the gear gets jumbly as it turns, but that's me. That was two shots at it, and I was uploading it for a thing. So one of the things it allows you to do, especially in relation to emotes, is to iterate a lot more. You know, what's going to hit, what's not going to hit with, you know, as a streamer with your audience. What are people, it can be difficult to figure out what people are going to attach themselves to, and it's hard to tell.
We were able to change the motion in the videos, do video to video, and it even had video outpainting where you can take a video of one size and change it to a whole other size and it would fill in the rest. It also got this really awesome video in painting where we can select an area of a video and change the color or add glasses. This is another huge leap in AI video, and that came in November. And that brings us to December, the month that I'm actually recording this video. And it's been kind of a slower month so far, which is to be expected as we get closer and closer to the holidays and people want to wind down and spend time with their family. But we did get the announcement of Gemini. We even got access to Gemini inside of Google's Bard. However, the way Google did it was a bit deceptive with them using this video footage and getting a response in real time when they actually didn't use video footage to get these prompts. They actually used completely different prompts than what they said, and it wasn't anywhere near to real time. It can do what it says it's going to do, just not the way they demonstrated it in the video. And finally, the last sort of big thing that I think happened in December of 20.
And again, that's what really kills me. Just show us what it can actually do. You're really shooting yourself in the foot by demonstrating a capability that it doesn't have, right? Like, you'd think that they would have learned with the Bard rollout that cost them $100 million in market cap when they launched Bard, and like it didn't do what they said it was going to do. Just show us what it can actually do.
2023 was the release of Mixtral of Experts, which was a new way of doing large language models, which I explained in last week's AI news video, which is a new open source large language model where you can give an input, it passes your input through a router, and then sends your question to various large language models or experts to get the answer. And each one of these experts might be trained on different information. It's a much more efficient way for these chatbots so that instead of asking a huge large language model, it's asking a smaller, more dialed in language model that's tailored to the prompt that you asked it. And
very similar to the way that I said that, you know, the AGI, such as it is going to function. Like the next thing, which will be coming out either next year or within the next 5 years, somewhere in that range, where you're going to put your request into the router AI and a narrow AI is going to handle the issue.
This is a big leap in how I feel AI chatbots will probably be handled in the future. So I felt like this was probably worth mentioning. Now, again, I know there was a lot that happened in the world of AI in 2023. I probably could have listed 30 things for every single month of the year, but felt like I should probably keep it more high level to the things that I felt made the biggest impact. I missed a lot of open source stuff. I know that, but these are the things that, in my opinion, drove the AI world forward the most and the fastest. And there you have it. That's my recap of 2023 in AI. I am so excited about 2024. I'll be making a video here pretty soon about my predictions of where it's all going in 2024. So if you want to see that video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you like this video, because that'll make sure videos like this show up in your YouTube feed. And if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of AI, similar to how I do, check out futuretools.io. This is where I curate all the cool tools that I come across. I made it really easy to sort and find the exact tools that you're looking for.
Again, it is a good tool. It does have both freemium and free. You click the box and it provides you with a list like this right here. Leonardo is the art software that I use. What up, Igloo? Elder Gang. It's a good one. And Leonardo just added some of that motion video stuff. They, you know, I'm not telling you that you should use it or anything else like that. I'm just saying that that's the one that I use. And all the features are that you would expect in that kind of art model is the mention of cost for anything was not mentioned. I mean, it's free. There's a free version of Leonardo. I pay the $12 a month for more tokens and like that. And of course, you can subscribe to the channel for $4.99 or free with a Twitch Prime, and that gets you access to the wonderful emotes like the ones that Igloo just used and the ones I demonstrated earlier.
I keep the AI news page up to date on a daily basis. Every day you can keep your finger on the pulse of the latest news. And I have a
Or you mean over the course of this video, he didn't mention how much any of the things would cost? Most of them, I try to keep it to a minimum, Igloo, but a lot of the tools have like a free level, and then they have like the paid level, which is usually significantly better, which you would expect from a lot of these things. The prices aren't, I would not say that the prices are unreasonable if you have the price to spend, or if you have the money to spend on, subscription services, right? Like, if I had to choose between like Netflix and my Leonardo, I would probably still pick Netflix, you know what I mean? Really just like the ones that charge for features and consumption. Yeah. Like, pretty much the ones I pay for right now are ChatGPT Plus, Leonardo AI, and Descript, which is really kind of a waste of money because I don't upload enough videos to YouTube. So I probably need to turn that one off. Yeah. I'm always the bottleneck in the process.
Free AI newsletter where I'll send you just a handful of the coolest AI tools that I come across and the most important pieces of AI news that I come across directly to your email inbox. You can find that all over at futuretools.io. And thanks for hanging out with me as I kind of go down memory lane of 2023 and what felt like 5 years condensed down into one. This was the fastest, most rapid advancements we've ever seen in AI, possibly in any technology ever. So what an exciting year. 2024, I only imagine is going to accelerate further, and hopefully you're here for it. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope I see you in the next video. And thanks again to NVIDIA for sponsoring this video. That was a lot of videos. Anyway, thanks again. I really appreciate you. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
All right.
Basic. That sounds like a trick.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Way too dank. Way too dank. Way too dank. All right, that's it for today's exciting episode of whatever the show is called. The AI Power 3 Hour or more. Debating letting go of my GPT-4, put my money on Runway since that has my i2. Yeah, like, I mean, you gotta weigh what works for you. What are you gonna extract the most value out of? Like, I definitely dropped, I use the Marvel Comics app to read comics because I still love comics. I think there's a lot that goes on in comics that I think a lot of people just don't appreciate because they don't read comics. I had the Marvel and the DC one. I cut the DC one so that I could free up more capital. And this channel, your subs, if you sub to this channel, AI, like you need. I can give you an article because we're just about done for today. I'm about to raid out, and then we can go to got to do the what you call it, movie night. But here's an article about DNA nanobots that self-replicate. And then here is a CNN. This one has video. And if you join the Discord, everything I do gets stored in the Discord sometime after stream. I have a links from stream and the videos from stream that I use to just dump all the stuff in so that if people need to find stuff like I just did, just go right back in there. I hope everyone, if you celebrate the holiday in whatever capacity you might do that, I hope it's a good one. If you have a good relationship with your family, I hope they are happy and healthy and you enjoy your time with them. No stream on Monday. No stream on Monday because it will be Christmas. There's a non-zero chance, but it's very close to zero, that if nothing is happening, that I might do a stream just because. Otherwise, I'll be back on Wednesday. Friday, we'll be talking with Dr. Yasmin, so that'll be cool. We're lining up another conversation with Talorx to talk about robot rights and like that. We're gonna rate Doodleburb. Doodleburb is a great person. I enjoy Doodleburb's streams. I hope you do as well. That's it. If it's your first time here, I go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. You can hit the follow. You can join the Discord, any of that stuff. And in the meantime, drink your water. Eat some food. Take your meds if you forgot. Shoggy and Ferris, love you. So do I. Be good.